Hey everybody, welcome to the Magic Master Summit. I'm your host, David Da Vinci, and today we have a very special guest. We're here in Las Vegas where we're filming quite a few of these and going to be talking about basically your PR and marketing. How do you interact with your public and how do you market yourself to be able to book more shows from a magician or just basically an entertainer standpoint? So with us today, master of PR marketing is Murray. Murray, thanks for joining us.
What's up? How you doing?
Fantastic.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to Vegas. This is great.
No, it's great. I just signed off the ship and
I know.
24 hours ago and have done 3 interviews.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Haven't slept or eaten, but
I'm great. I'm glad you booked here because I just came across the street from the show and now we can. I mean, what's funny about the marketing aspect is you're in the city of marketing. I mean, this whole city. They should, if it wasn't called Las Vegas, it should be called Advertising Nevada.
Or Sin City.
Honest to God, yeah, really, yeah, it's true because everything's an ad. I mean, it's the biggest city of neon. Why? Because it's ads. That's what it is. It's not. We didn't. They didn't put neon to make it brighter so you could see where you're driving. They put it so you could see the casino that you should be going to and make it more enticing. That's what life's all about, advertising. So
I'm glad you bring that up because if we're looking at how do you market in the general world.
Sure.
Where better than to do it here in Vegas? Because now you have to stand out with your image, which we've talked about a little bit. If you want to share some thoughts on that, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
But you stand out, you created your image, and then you created your show along that same path. And then now you had your show and you said, I'm going to perform in Vegas. Here you are, you're headlining, you're doing 12 shows a week, 10 shows a week, depends on the season, I suppose.
That's right.
And making a killing. And then you've got your YouTube, you've got your Facebook, you've got your Instagram, you're doing a lot. And yet you still have time to do everything. So I want to try to figure out what you're doing and how do you stand out. First of all, how are you standing out in a place like Vegas? Because you've got other magic shows and you've also got a lot of other great entertainers.
You know, it's interesting when you're in a venue or an area with so many different acts, and I mean different acts meaning from Cirque to Blue Man to Elton John, Rod Stewart, to all the other magicians we have in this town. You got to go in and you got to think like an entertainer, not a magician. See, if you ever go to Wall Street, you see banks on every corner in New York City. Only the best banks are on each corner. You don't see, the SawChuck bank in the corner because I can't run with those guys. You don't see it because it's too big of competition. I don't have enough to offer. I don't have enough interest to pay people back or enough cool, Roth funds or whatever these banks do to make their bank competitive.
Right.
But once you get to that point and you have a brand that you can sell, now you can have a Starbucks across from a coffee bean. But until you have that, it's very hard to have Schmucky's Coffee here with Starbucks and Coffee Bean because we don't know that brand.
That's a great point.
And so you want to make sure, now if you're just Schmucky's Coffee and you're in the middle of Iowa, Oklahoma, Minnesota, it'll probably do great because it's a smaller market, not as much competition, and people are probably willing to try it. When you're in a massive market and you just want a great cup of coffee, you've seen the ads, heard so much, you're going to go to something that's already tried and true. So, as an entertainer, you got to think like a product. You are a product. And I've always told people this. I said, when you want to get on TV, and I'm going to get back to the marketing because this is marketing, but when you want to get on a television show, think like a producer, not like a magician. Because if you think like a producer, you'll figure out a way to get on. If you think like a magician, you won't get on the show.
Can you give us an example?
Well, sure. If I call somebody in Iowa right now, we direct dial somebody that we don't know, and we go, hey, don't hang up on me, random question, I'm not trying to sell anything. Think of a magician. I want you to think of 3 things that a magician does. This is all we're asking you. Just answer those 3 things. It'd be really intriguing to find out what they say.
Let's try it.
I think that we should, shouldn't we?
You have your phone?
We should. I know, we should pull up my phone. Seriously, we should actually do that. I think one is making an elephant disappear. Another one is sawing someone in half. Another one is either making a car appear or a rabbit out of a hat. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think those are the ones.
Yeah.
That's commercial.
Okay.
That's commercial. They're not ever going to say, they're never going to say, oh, I want to fold a bill in half, you put a pencil through it, and then half of it kind of breaks through, and I think we should call it misled. That's my favorite one. No one will say that.
Right.
They don't say that. We get excited. Oh my God, a pencil goes through a piece of paper. Okay. That's nice, but I'd rather see an elephant.
Yeah.
Or a rabbit out of an empty hat, or someone cut in half, because that's more amazing than a pencil through a bill.
Yeah.
It is. But in our world, we understand how tricks work, so that is amazing, because it's something new in our world for our palette of tricks. But you got to look at that the same way when you're coming into a market and you're trying to market yourself. You have to look at yourself as a product. And what I mean by that is, you could have me do Professor's Nightmare. For those who don't know Professor's Nightmare, 3 ropes, short, middle, and long, and then they're all different lengths, and you put them together and you open them up again, and then all 3 are the same length rope. And you put them back together and they're all different lengths. That's Professor's Nightmare, one of the first tricks most of us learn in the business. But it's a great trick. It really is a miracle when you think of it. It's easy to do, but it really is a miracle, and you can do it at any stage of your career, because it really is a great trick. But if you had Copperfield do it, and you had Penn and Teller do it, Matt King do it, and myself do it, because of who we are, we will all do it differently.
Yeah.
Because we've created our product, which is our brand. Penn and Teller, gray suits, red ties. Now they've obviously loosened up a bit more, but it's always suits. One talks, one doesn't. Matt King, plaid suit, you know?
Plaid backdrop.
Exactly, the whole bit, right? Yeah. You know, and he does the whole from Kentucky thing, you know? Or the South or whatever. And then, of course, you have Copperfield, who's sexy and clean and classy, and just, he's always been that way. And there's me, who's a bit goofy, you know what I mean? And it's, you know, very Dennis the Menace, which has always been my angle. So I'm not going to do a cut and restored rope or a Professor's Nightmare with thematic music and lighting cues and haze and fog machines. I'll leave that up to Copperfield.
Right.
You know, Penn and Teller
I'd
probably
like to see him do that, actually.
I know, right? It would be very funny, wouldn't it? Have 4 people do that, right?
Yeah.
And then you have like Penn and Teller do it, and one would probably talk, obviously, and one wouldn't, and they'd probably do it totally different at the same time, but they'd all end up with the same results because that's their style.
Yeah.
You know, and then of course you'd have Matt King making a joke out of it with the accent and all this other stuff. So you all have these genres, and that's the idea. And I tell people, when you market yourself, you have to look at everything else that's a product and consider yourself a product, not just a service, because we are a service, but you have to become a product of who you are. So when I say that, think of anything, I don't care. Look around your house, look in your garage, walk down your street. When you walk down your street, you'll see a Dodge truck, a GMC truck, a Jeep, which is the Jeep brand, you know, a Wrangler, or you'll see a Corvette Stingray. Everything's different, right? But at the end of the day, there's still 4 wheels and an engine.
Yeah.
We all get to work at the same time, and we have laws to go at the same speed. So it doesn't matter if your car's faster or slower, we can only go 45 miles an hour, 65 to work. But it's the chassis that we want to buy. So why do I want a Corvette and you want a Jeep? Or why does this guy want, you know, an SUV? And because this person maybe has a big family, and maybe you want a sports car as a second car or something. But there's still 4 wheels and engine. There's nothing that really different.
Yeah.
We're all doing magic tricks. We're gonna find a card that you've chosen and give it back to you, and you're gonna be amazed. You know, we're gonna take a coin and make it disappear. There's no mystery. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna do it in different ways. It'll be under a glass, in our pocket, whatever the case is. So you have to figure out, and the first thing I think about marketing is who the hell you are. That's so important. And it could take 10 years, could take 10 minutes, could take 10 days, 10 weeks.
It takes a long time.
Yes, it does.
It does. I mean, let's be honest. For myself, it was probably 10 years to really,
Yes.
and I'm still obviously going to continue to adjust and evolve, as we all should, but it took me a good 10 years. I don't know about you, but I remember you shared the story with me before, that moment you made your hair bleached out and you took the top hat off at the beginning of your old act, that was the moment that people said, okay, you did that right, that was right. And then that grew, right?
Of course it did, you know, but I took a risk.
Yeah.
You know, like with your look, and of course you've changed your name a little bit, you know, try to, you know, figure out something, you know, obviously, you know, Dave Womack went to David Da Vinci, which I liked. Now, I think I even saw that, and I texted you or I wrote you.
It was back in like 2007, 2008.
Yeah, and I liked it because it sounded a bit eccentric, but I liked it. It was almost like Leonardo DiCaprio. If he wasn't a famous actor, you'd go, man, who is this actor with that last name?
Leonardo
Really?
Smith.
Exactly,
Like,
right?
it just
When you
wouldn't work.
hear it, now you see him in all the movies he's done, you go, yeah, that is him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Grace Kelly, go, that sounds regal. Well, it is real because of the actress, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with you equal the name that you're doing. You're working, you're touring, you have a lavish illusion show, you know what I mean, with your wife and your daughter now and everything. So you equal the name. You know, if you're a kid's birthday party magician, you know, way back in the day, and you came with that name, I'm like, well, that's a little much for a kid's birthday party.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it like that, yeah.
But if you can elevate yourself, then it's like the Queen. You go, oh, the Queen of England. Well, yeah, she's got the palace and the carriage and the horse. You go, yeah, she equals that.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting around a dinner party and somebody says to you, you know, here's Queen Lorraine of Smith Street, you're like, okay, wait, let me just take that in. Queen Lorraine of Smith. So this is your neighbors. Yeah, she just goes by Queen Lorraine. I'm like, oh. And you realize she lives in a mobile home at the end of the street. And you're like, okay. This is ridiculous. But so, when you have a name or a product, you got to meet the demands as well. You know what I mean? Like when you look at the other people I've just mentioned, the other magic stars, when you see Mac in his plaid with everything else and his accent that he puts on a little more and where he's from and the whole bit, it really works.
It does.
If you try to be slick and cool with that accent and the name, it wouldn't work. Copperfield works. It's a sexy name, and he's obviously always met that demand. Penn and Teller work because they're really intelligent, and they use their intelligence with the tricks in a sort of comical sense way, but a very intelligent way. You know? So everyone has their thing. So I think, for the beginning, if you really want to get into marketing, the reason I say this is because when you get business cards made, as you know, when you change your name, you change your look, it's expensive because you got to change business cards, you got to change headshots, the name on the headshots, the publicity releases, all this stuff, and it's not cheap. It's a little cheaper now because we're in a digital age now.
Yeah.
15 years ago, it wasn't as easy. It was expensive because everything was printed.
Even with that, my domain, all my domains forward to davewomack.com because everything, I have my hands in a few different pots, and so it all kind of comes back together to that. You type in David Da Vinci, it'll still go to, Dave Womack. But hopefully the next handful of years that'll change, and that'll be totally isolated and separate.
But you don't want to lose that audience that knows you're Womack either.
Exactly.
You've done that for so long. And it is different. See, it's okay, fair enough. It's not as sexy as a Da Vinci. Fair enough.
Nobody remembers it.
No, but the Womack though is different enough. It's not Smith or what Jacobs or whatever. It's not something a normal last name. It is different. So at least both cases, thank God it's memorable either way. You know what I mean? And then you can slowly start feeding it to the name you want to be more known for. I've always had that battle between Murray, celebrity magician. And now get this, celebrity magician, I'm well aware that I don't need to put celebrity and magician together, because if you're a celebrity, you shouldn't have to put celebrity after your name. I'll be the first to say that.
Right.
But I want to jump on a trend that was happening quickly, meaning celebrity chef, celebrity golf pro, celebrity fitness trainer. I'm like, what is with this? But it gave you a title and it made them sound more important.
Well, it's funny because a celebrity chef, who gives,
exactly.
who really cares?
I know, it's a hamburger.
The chef is,
Exactly, but it's become this big genre.
It does.
And I thought, I'm jumping on it before somebody else does. So I did, and it worked for my advantage. And the reason it worked for my advantage is because when somebody writes up something, it happened on the ships actually. Some ships would be like, Showtime with Murray SawChuck. You've seen him on this. Okay, I'm like, okay. But then there would be like, a real celebrity coming on board, like a real star, like from a TV show, or Phyllis Diller, or somebody would come on board, and it'd be like, it's Celebrity Showtime with Phyllis Diller or with whoever it is, and you're like, man, but I still do an hour. So how can I force people to put celebrity in my name without asking? Because it's kind of weird to go, hey, can you put celebrity in, please? Because I'm like, you got to ask. Once again, you're not. So I thought, if I can jump on this bandwagon with the celebrity chef, golf pro, fitness trainer thing, celebrity nutritionist, this will work. So when I was on the ships, I started doing that, Murray Celebrity Magician, and that was my title. So I got the same billing as someone that really was a legend because it was my title. You couldn't take it away because I didn't use my last name, because SawChuck you can't remember. And so it was Murray, in quotes, Celebrity Magician, and then it went in. So even if you weren't sure who I was, because you probably didn't back then, you go, a celebrity magician, he must be good, because it says he's a celebrity magician.
Right.
So it got people to come to see my show when there was really nothing else that they may want to go see me because they didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
So it was a really great way to force people to be curious about me. So that's kind of an interesting idea, to hype up your own hype, but do it within reason. You got to also meet the demand.
Yeah.
If I said celebrity magician, once again, we go back to kids' birthday parties. If I was to be celebrity magician,
right?
For Johnny's 13th birthday party, they're like, what is this? Is this a croca? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So there's definitely a window that you want to start pushing yourself. But my point is, with this whole thing we opened up with, is the fact that I believe when you play golf, you got to put the ball on the tee and hit it. You can't throw the ball down the fairway and then decide that's where I want to hit it from. So you got to set it on the tee, and you got to hit it, and then you got to worry about your next shot, your next club. Well, with marketing and PR, it begins with you. You're the first entity. Without you, then you don't know what the hell you're marketing.
Yeah.
So you're the product, you're the service, you're the star, and you're the talent. So if you don't know who you are, how are they supposed to know who you are? So even if you don't know who you are, fake it. Figure out who you are, because
Yeah.
who you are today may not be who you are in 5 years, probably won't be, but at least you have something to sell and that you know what you're selling. You know, it's so important. That's why I've started this off, because it's important to know who you are. And if you don't know who you are, then figure out things that are original about you. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and then go from there, whatever that might be.
We talked about it with Dan Sperry and with Brad Ross, and actually Dan Sperry, you know, it was interesting, his whole story. So I hope guys listen to or watch that interview. But we kind of dive into that where he's you know, he was trying to play the Lance Burton part for a little part of his career, and it wasn't working. And he was like, "Why am I acting? Why don't I just be me?" And that's when he grew, and he accentuated who he was. But but I agree 100%. Find out who you are and build from there.
It's true. Like if you watch comedians, you know, if you want to get better at magic, watch anybody else but magicians.
Yeah.
Because you'll just start copying other magicians, and then that doesn't build your brand. But watch, you know, public speakers, watch comedians, watch other jugglers, watch acrobats, watch other forms of entertainment, or singers even, how they walk on stage, how they sing. Watch Bruno Mars. You know, watch how certain people walk on stage. I'm a huge fan of Bruno Mars because he owns that audience. Yes, he's very good and his songs are phenomenal, but it's not just that. The minute he gets to stage, he owns it with his look, his jackets, his walk, his shoes, everything. So it's really, really important. So it's one of those things where, you know, what you want to do is you really want to hone in on who you are first and then go on from there.
Perfect. All right, so now that somebody knows their style, they've watched the other summit, or maybe they already know who they are and they've accentuated, now they know their style. Let's jump back to the marketing, and where do you take it from there? How do you stand out how do you create your blue ocean? I don't know if you read Blue Ocean Strategies or not.
No, but I know the book.
It's a fantastic book, and to summarize it, it's basically Cirque du Soleil looked at the circus, which was a quote-unquote dying business in the book, and they said, okay, well, how do we make this better? And they took the circus acts and they built it around theatrics and a storyline that had never really been done, and they created their own market. So they obviously stood out because you wouldn't go see a circus in Vegas. I mean, not in today's day and age.
Sure.
At least it wouldn't do as well as Cirque du Soleil is. So how do you create your blue ocean for entertainer?
You know, I think you create your blue ocean is basically by going back to who you are. Like when you're a comedian, if you watch comedians, look at them, because the way they work their strength besides whether they're fat or thin or black or white or Asian. I mean, that's an obvious thing when a comedian walks on stage, right? Bald or lots of hair or whatever. It's their history. Some were orphans and they make fun of it. Some lived in a mobile home park. Some were raised rich. Some were poor. Some worked in a fish factory. Some were truck drivers. So nobody could have that life story but them. Your story, no one has. I don't care what it is. Even if you're similar to somebody, nobody has the same upbringing, life stories, and how you got to this day, but you. No one. It's like a snowflake. There's nobody that's you. So use it. Go back into what's you. You know what I mean? And you can pull out of that. If you were in the rodeo, maybe do some Western magic or make jokes about riding horses and then wrap them back into you. If you love holidays, great. Then bring that out into your jokes or your comedy or even your magic. You know, who says you can't do a Christmas tree trick in the middle of July? You can, long as you wrap it in and make it acceptable to the audience.
Yeah.
And even if you're doing a Jewish party, you can make a joke, and a respectable one, about something and go back into it. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to just be about the exact, we got to do this trick these 3 weeks because it's the holiday.
Yeah.
So if it's part of you love Christmas, you can do one. You can tie it in. It actually makes you stand out more because people are going to walk away and go, you're not going to believe this. It's the middle of April. We just finished Easter, and this guy's doing a Christmas magic trick. Well, it is because it is funny, and that's why you need to stand out. And that goes, once again, marketing, is another word for marketing is standing out. That's so important because if you don't stand out, then why market yourself?
Yeah.
You have to stand out in your own way. And the next step after you have your brand or whatever you want to be is to get out there. And you gotta get out there in many different ways. I mean, first way is you need a photograph. You know what I mean? You need a video. Nobody else, because how am I gonna buy a retirement plan from a bank? And I'm trying to use something that everyone uses. We use banks, right? So how am I supposed to buy a retirement plan from a bank if I can't have a pamphlet and read what bonuses I'm getting for keeping my money in there for so long. How much interest? How many taxes am I going to get charged getting it out? If I don't know this, there's no interest. There's nothing exciting. So they need to make those pamphlets exciting to me. And how much money I'll get at the end of when I'm 65 or 70. Same with you as an entertainer. You need to have that pamphlet to hand to your client, whether it be a birthday party, a big show. You're trying to, book a gig in one of the biggest, casinos or venues in Korea. You need to showcase yourself in the best light. So you got to get photographs taken. You need photos. And I know we can take photos on our phones and all this, but you need to find a professional photographer that captures people. Don't get a photographer that shoots apples or jewelry or buildings, because they're phenomenal at what they do.
Yeah.
Shoot one that shoots people, because here's the problem, and you got to be comfortable. If you're not comfortable with the person shooting you, you're not going to look comfortable in the shot.
Do you have any tips on trying to find somebody that would be good for that?
Yeah, well, I think my big thing is recommendation. You know what I mean? That's huge. I phone everybody. Nowadays, we have Facebook and Twitter, and so many people do it now. We go, hey, I'm looking for a new photographer. Anybody got anybody great? Yeah. Well, everyone always wants to give their friend help, so they'll drop somebody's name in, and you can look at what they've done. And, if they have a website now, which they should have, if the photographer doesn't have a website now, you may want to wonder about them, because that's that world now. Not that I'm saying that, if you don't have one, you're not a good photographer. I'm just saying that in this day and age, as a photographer, you'd think that would be one of your go-tos. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like an architect not having a drafting board. I'd be a little concerned when I walk in the office. I'm like, oh, really? Or a big, flat screen computer, because they use CAD now, I guess. But my point is, you want to find someone that you're comfortable with. Maybe go to the office, meet them for a minute. Don't go on vacation with them, but go down there, sit for an hour, see their books, have a conversation with them, see if you like their personality or just the location. The backdrop, the studio, and if you're comfortable, because it makes a big difference. And if it's your first shoot, you're probably not going to be comfortable anyway, so that's okay. It's a weird thing. Somebody's taking shots of you and you're trying to pose and you're not comfortable. That's normal.
It's a hard thing too. Like, I was actually looking through, and as I was putting the summit together, I'm like, I don't have a good headshot. I haven't done headshots in a long time, and so I was realizing, okay, I need to go do that. But that's the reason I don't have a good one, is that's something I'm not comfortable doing in front of a camera. I'm fine with like a full pose, as long as I'm doing something, it's easier for me. Mm-hmm. But I like your tip about being comfortable with that photographer. Yeah. They'll pull the real you out of that moment.
It's a big difference. And I've shot with many, and there's ones where I'm like, man, I'm having a hard time trying to get this shot, because I'm not happy with what they're doing, and I see what they're doing. I know the shot's not what I want, so now I'm getting more angry.
Yeah,
it's coming across. Yeah, but I'm stuck, because this is where I'm at right now. We're gonna do this.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to relax. And there's other photographers, and when you go into a shoot, if you like certain music, you like heavy metal, you like jazz, you like R&B, bring a thumb drive or bring your iPod or whatever you got, plug it in and play music.
Yeah.
It's your shoot. You're hiring the photographer your time. And if you want music to chill, then you play it. That's not their decision. It's, you want to make the environment comfortable for you, because you're paying for the photo shoot, and it's your face on the image. So you want certain music makes you feel more like a rebel. If you're playing, AC/DC Thunderstruck, or if you want a softer look, maybe you want Sade, or you want, who knows, that's Selena Gomez or whoever you're listening to. You know what I mean? So,
right.
So that's important. And then once you get those photos, that is your hood ornament. That's your hood ornament to getting a job. I mean, that's basically, you hand that to somebody, and now that's your image. That's your brand for now. And
how many headshots should somebody have?
I say 3.
Okay.
3 looks. It's always good to have one that's your headshot of smiling. The second headshot is serious, usually, especially if you're going to act. If you're trying to sell your show, this is my own opinion. A lot of people disagree, but I think you should always be smiling in the shot. Unless you are selling a different type of show. If you're trying to be Dracula or Vincent Price, or you're trying to be eerie, then I get it. You don't smile, because that's part of your character. But if you want to get a gig, when I sit and produce shows, or I look at things, and I don't know the acts I'm booking or dancers I'm hiring or whatever, if there's one that's got an endearing smile, I go, I want to work with that person. They look like they're having fun.
Just laughing inside, picturing Dan Sperry trying to smile on a headshot.
I know, right? Say, of course. Yeah, right? But he's got a different act, right? He's got a very serious act, yet indirectly when you see his act, he has a bit of a sinister
He's got
comedy.
A lovable, like sadistic, but lovable humor.
That's right. So it's, but when you're selling that character, it probably wouldn't be the best if he was, because the way he looks doesn't look like he should be smiling. So that's okay. You know what I mean? So, but I know a lot of people like the serious things. They look sexier, they look more, mysterious. But the problem is, or they look pissed off. That's the other problem.
Right.
So when I'm booking and I don't know you, unless you're famous, like when you're famous, you can do whatever you want to do.
Right.
If it's Johnny Depp, who cares? It's Johnny Depp. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you're Pamela Anderson, it doesn't matter. You know, Taylor Swift, it doesn't matter. But when you're not that famous, you want to look like that. That
Look
you're
likable.
hireable. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, perfect example is, you know, I relate, if you notice everything I do, I relate it to something that we deal with every day in our lives. Because that's the only way I learn things. Because our business isn't that far off of anything else. If you want a realtor for a house that you're going to buy, open up the real estate area thing of your newspaper, or open up a real estate magazine. If you notice, every real estate person is smiling. Why? Because they want your business.
Yeah.
It's the oldest school of getting someone to hire you is to look happy.
Yeah.
I want happy people. So if you're pleasant looking and you're groomed and you look well, I'll probably take a chance and hire you.
It'd be interesting if, this is totally now going off topic, but if a realtor was overtly like pissed off looking in the photo, just like so over the top
Wouldn't
that
that be great?
it became likable, right?
Exactly, like the Shrek of realtors.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
You never know, because there are people like that.
Yeah.
Because you know there's a odd, I'm sure, boss you've met in that looks grouchy as hell. But they're the nicest, they're the big teddy bear. But they've just got that look. They just look grouchy.
Yeah.
But they're actually super sweet. You know what I mean, I know many people right now I can think of, and producers and directors. But when you know them, they're just a sweetheart.
I know some people that look great that are not.
Yes. Oh, they're a pain. Trust me. I got a list. Let me tell you. That's a whole other lecture.
Yeah.
But you know, it's true. Yeah, of course. You know what I mean. So looks can be deceiving.
Yeah.
And both ways. But at least if you're going to be deceiving that you're happy, and you like working, and you want that job. Look like you want the job. Don't look like you don't need the job.
Interesting.
If it looks like you don't need the job, then they'll go, oh, he's too busy, he's too famous, he's too serious, he's got his life. But if it looks like you want the job, you need the job. And I don't mean desperate, I mean positive, powerful, and comfortable, then you'll get it. You know what I mean? I learned that from Marvin Roy, Mr. Electric. He was my mentor. And yes, he had serious shots at times, and they looked beautiful and they looked great, but more of the shots they used was them smiling. Because they were trying to get the gig. Now, after 20 or 30 years, they become very famous in their world.
Yeah.
So they could do whatever shot they wanted because they were who they were. But leading up to that, you want to look bookable.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what are your thoughts on what should, if you're doing, okay, you got a headshot, you want a secondary shot. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know back in the day, you said and correct me if your opinions change, I'm totally open to that. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, you had suggested to me, I think when we were in Shanghai together, you suggested that every shot should show magic. And so as I came into the airport yesterday, I saw Penn and Teller have a circling, it's a triangular poster, and it continues to circle through, and something unique is happening. It's not always magical, but something unique is happening. One, yes, they're cut in half, and it's a great shot. Another one, I think Teller's pulling the brains out of Penn. But that still kind of makes you stop and look at it.
That's right.
How's your opinion changed or stayed the same based on the last decade and a half?
Hasn't changed at all.
Okay.
100% the same. And you just pointed out. And these guys they're legends. If you want to learn and be good at something, look at everyone that's working. You know, I'm working, you're working. You know what I mean? Everyone on these, you know, this lecture series is working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look at Penn and Teller. Look at Copperfield. Look at what they do. Because they're doing it because it works. They're not doing it because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to learn to make $1 million, learn from a millionaire, not someone that talks about it.
Right. That was my theory with school, man. I hated school. I was naturally able to pass all the tests and be a straight A student. I don't want to say I was naturally smart or naturally good. I just got it.
Sure.
But man, I didn't understand the process of school because none of those people were doing what they were all teaching about doing.
Sure.
So I ended up seeking out mentors that were millionaires.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's true. That's kind of what I learned years ago. So it's one of those things where, you know, in a photograph, if you're going to have 3 photographs, get one serious or 2 smiling, but get one serious or a full body. But that's another thing I'm going to mention about the full body thing. But get one that has a trick in it or a magic thing in it. Or if you're a juggler or a singer, whatever it is, if you're a comedian, have something funny. Have the cord of the microphone wrapped around you like this maybe, and you're hanging on to it like this. That's funny. If you're a magician, split yourself in half or have something floating. The easiest thing for a magician to do nowadays is floating something. And I know it sounds cliche, but we can only do so much.
Yeah.
We can only split ourselves in half with Photoshop or put something floating in front of us. And if you want to float an item, for people that don't know this is a gem. Just put a stick in the back of something. You know, if you have this glass wouldn't, well, you could glue it to the bottom, it's too heavy, but whatever it is, a styrofoam ball or whatever it is, stick a hole in a stick or hot glue a piece of metal, paint it all black, and you stick it to the back of this thing, and you run it out the back, and you put it between your arm like this, and if you shoot straight on, and with this here, and that bar here, and somebody holding it behind you, behind a curtain or under a couch or wherever you're doing it, if you shoot straight on, no one will see the bar, and you can be here just like that and be floating it. And that's exactly how you do every floating shot. So there's a pointer for you. But I've been doing it since I was 19. I used to hang invisible wires before you had Photoshop.
I've just only ever used Photoshop.
Yeah, you can't shoot. But the cool thing is, everything works. So you stick a stick here, it goes out the back through thing, and now when you're floating, everything's in proportion, and you're doing this, and everything works, and you can do that tight crop, and you really are floating it because it's really there.
Yeah.
And with Photoshop, sometimes nowadays people don't know how to Photoshop things that well, or they do, or they think they do, or they've done it so much they can't see what's wrong or right. When you do it in real time, I'm really a big believer in doing things in real time. I'm really against Photoshop, except for the odd line now that I'm not 20 anymore, or blue my eyes a little bit, or whatever. But when I do shots, everything I like to do, if I can, is in real time. I mean, I remember I did a shot in the freeway out here in the 15 in Vegas. I wanted a summer shot. It was with Lefty, my guest act, my assistant at the time, and I wanted a summer shot for the magazine. And I wanted a baby kids pool with cards in it, and my assistant in a lounge with her feet in the pool, and me hitching a ride, and then Lefty, who's my guest act, with a snorkel and flip-flops getting in the pool. And it was a title going, hey, don't miss out on the Magic Summer Fun, my show at, I think it was at Tropicana at the time. Come check me out. And it was just something to catch your eye.
Yeah.
But I wanted this pool with water and all this people, and I think I had my little dog on my assistant's lap as well. Well, would you believe, in the back of my truck, I literally filled up about 7 Home Depot buckets of water, and I bought a blow-up pool and the cards, and got the flippers and the snorkel for Doug, which is Doug's his real name, Lefty's his stage name. And then my assistant had her outfit and the dog, and we all went there, and I literally put the pool down, blew it up. I filled it with real water because to fake the water, it's very hard to fake water on that. And everything you saw was real time. The only thing we changed is we put a sign behind us that said Las Vegas 20 miles or 140 because we were on the wrong side because of the sun, so we couldn't get a real sign. The sign was there, it was on the wrong side of the sun, so we just took a picture of that sign and dropped it behind us.
Nice.
Which is enough, it's enough Photoshop that you're not going to know it's Photoshop. And
Yeah.
that's why people go, oh my God, what's Photoshop? Well, nothing, because I like photos in real time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Except for
nowadays-
wrinkles and eye color.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wrinkles, eye color. Maybe if you want to, say you have a shirt that's not a bright enough blue or orange or yellow or whatever you're doing, you can bump it up with contrast.
Yeah.
Or say the color's wrong and you got to change the shirt color, then you can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to give a little tip here too. If people go onto Upwork.com, it used to be freelance or elance, you can find people that are excellent and they're super cheap to hire.
Really?
And you put your money in an escrow account basically online. You prepay, let's say they bid $100 on it, or you ask, you say, hey, my budget's $50.
Yeah.
They'll all bid on it, and you accept based on their portfolio. You pay the company, Elance or Upwork, and then they do the work, and if you like it, then you release the money to them and you keep the product.
Oh wow!
So it's
like
a great.
isn't it Fiverr has something too?
There's a lot of different websites.
Oh, so yeah, but so it's Upwork, huh?
Upwork or Upworks.
Good, yeah.
Upwork.
Good. So somebody can Google that.
Yeah, and you can if you're not good at Photoshop.
Yep.
$20 to $50, you can put a bid out.
Cheap.
People can maybe take it, maybe they
That's
don't,
really
but
cheap.
you only pay if you like it.
That's all right. It's cheap because the Photoshop work can be up to $150 an hour.
Yeah.
Depending what you're doing.
Yeah.
So no, it's very important. So I try to do everything in real time, but the floating thing's great because, and why I go back to you should have magic in a photograph is because of the fact that when you are doing an action shot in a photo, and then you send a press release to a newspaper, which we'll get into in the next thing, that when you send a press release or something to the newspaper, if you're not famous, why would they want to put your photo in?
Right.
Just because you're pretty? Well, yeah, maybe if news is light that day.
Maybe.
But if you're doing something really cool, there's more of a chance of that photo going in because it's just interesting. It's fun to look at. Humans are like kids. We love colorful. We love pop-out books. We just work in a little bit different way, but we still want to see interesting photos. So if there's a magician playing down the community center this weekend, you have an opportunity. You send your little news release in saying, I'm going to be there. Here's all my accolades. And you send a really cool photo of you floating something, you know what I mean? Either your daughter, your son, a little toy car, a ball, whatever it is. That'll have a bigger chance getting in because it's something interesting. So the picture becomes famous, not you, but in turn, because the picture's famous, you then become a little more famous. So it's really important that. So that's a big thing. So if you're going to have your photos, you want a photo with a headshot that's smiling and a short headshot.
Yeah.
Not a full body, because what happens is you'll send that full body shot to somebody, and they'll either print it as is. And how many times have you seen Magic magazines where it's a full body shot? Everyone's here, face, 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 and there's a picture of you. It could be anybody, because when you put the photo this big, it doesn't matter. if you're going to go on a newspaper article and it's a variety show, just use this, just your face, because without that, more than likely they'll use the full shot. They won't crop it in, or if they do, they'll crop it the wrong way, and all of a sudden, it's like you have one arm in it and one arm out, and it's a disaster. So get a tight crop. Do a long one for yourself if you want something that's a bit more, bigger for an ad, and then do something that you're actually in that shot doing some magic. So that's my thoughts on photos.
Yeah, and people can look at magicmastersummit.com and see the people that gave me headshots and the people that didn't, and get a good example of what you're talking about. So you've got your headshot, you've got your action shot, or your magic shot, or juggling shot, or singer shot, or you've got your 2 photos, and you mentioned a little bit about doing a news release. So let's talk about, one, how do you write it? Do you have it done? Do you write it yourself? What should be in it? And then how do you distribute that properly?
Sure. Well, with news releases, like anything, you got to brag about yourself. So when you write it, if you're not a good writer, because I'm not, once you write it, send it to somebody that is a good writer. Send it to an English teacher. Send it to somebody in the family that has a degree in English, or there's many people online that you can find as well. But the point is, it should be 1 page long. Nobody wants to read 4 or 5 pages.
Yeah.
You're not that good. Come on now. So,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, just enough. Or if you are that great, hone it into like 3 or 4 paragraphs,
Yeah.
And when you write a news release, you want to put at the top, of course, your name or your company, the address, email, phone number, so they can get a hold of you. Or the company that is representing you, or whatever you want it to be. If you don't want it to be directly from you to you, that's another little secret there. I'll tell you in a second. And then you write at the top, and if you want it to be released as of today, you put it in as immediate release. So that means they can go today. If it's not, you can send it and say immediate release is July the 30th, or September the 10th, or whenever. But I like, when I send a news release, I like it always to be immediate, because once it's in their hands, they can release it whenever they want.
Yeah.
And if I got to release some secret stuff and I'm going to send it and then hopefully they'll hold back 10 days, I don't like that, because I don't want to ruin a client if they're waiting to release something, and you ruin relations in the sense that if you're jumping on something before they jump on it and they're upset with you, it's, I like sending, as soon as I send it, then it's out there, and if they want to print it, they can. If not, they don't. But you always put immediate release at the top, and then below that you write your topic sentence, just like you'd write an essay. That first sentence, you want to hit them with a lot of stuff that's exciting. So say you just won a magic award at a magic convention, because I'm trying to hone in on, or a trophy, or you're a tennis player and you won a tennis match, or you did good. You want to put that within that first 3 or 4 sentences. You want to go, David da Vinci just wins World Championship of Magic in, Tokyo, first American to win with his unbelievable bird act, and along with his bird tricks and his wife, So now so now you're world champion. He's got birds, and the first American to win it. Wow, that's a lot of good information. That's a lot.
And just to tie back to what you're saying earlier, you're tying in things that are unique to you as a brand.
Yes.
Not just generic.
Of course, because if it's unique to you, no one can steal it, because they're not. It is you. Birds, American, because I'm saying American because I'm saying this was done in Tokyo, so
Yeah.
So you want to pull things that are out there. Now, if it's a local story, you might want to hit, and you're recently graduated from high school, or you're still going to school or high school, then tie that in there. We all like local boy or local girl does good. So it's Brent Smith from so-and-so junior high just graduates and wins, so-and-so trophy for best manipulation, or best tennis player, or best whatever it is, first graduate of 2016 to seek progress in his new career or whatever.
Yeah.
But you want something that you would get excited about reading. And if you don't know how to do it, I read the newspaper in the morning, the actual newspaper every morning, and I think I'm the only person in the world that actually reads a paper. I actually read it in the mornings for like 20 minutes before I have my shower and go up into my office, and it's a way to chill, wake up a little bit.
The Vegas Sun is like, oh, there's our second subscriber, Murray.
Exactly.
Or one delivery for the day.
Exactly, you're right. But that's also how you learn to write headlines. So if you don't know how to write one, just go read some articles.
I want to also suggest Joe Vitale. He's in the summit as well, but he wrote a hypnotic writing, and he said that he spends 50% of his time is creating the title for his book. The other half is writing the book. So he puts that much time into his headlines, into his titles.
Yes.
But he's a good resource for that hypnotic writing, and he has a few other great books on writing. But
and that goes back to when we talk later about videos that you put online or pictures. You have a right tagline, it makes people interested. If not, they'll go buy it. So you want to make sure that first sentence is the meat of it. Because when news people read these things now, because it's all done by email nowadays. Most people don't get a letter and read it. Back in the day, you mailed it in with a photo and that. Now it's all email. Now, because it's so easy with emails, there's hundreds an hour that they get. So they got to see it quickly, and they probably don't read the whole thing. They'll read that topic sentence. If it's interesting, they'll put it in a good pile. They'll go through it later.
Yeah.
So you only got those 6 or 8 lines to impress them. And if it's not that exciting, you're on to the next. So that topic sentence has to be big. Not topic sentence. The actual title has to be, local boy from, Las Vegas, Nevada, wins biggest award in Japan, or that's you're like, what? That's interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And don't worry about putting your full name. So and so does this. You want to have the tag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you put something like boy almost gets eaten by alligator. Oh my God! But if you put Robert John Smith, who's the hell? Now you've wasted 3 words.
Yeah.
And then you get into almost got eaten by an alligator. Well, it doesn't matter, because that alone, almost got eaten by an alligator, is, oh my God, I want to read who is it? What's going on? I mean, or go buy a People magazine or a Us magazine. They do the same thing. That's why when we're standing at the checkout counter, we're like, what about the Kardashians?
I say the best is the tabloids, because
Exactly.
they overhype it so much that you want to read, even though you know it's total BS, you still want to read it because it's a great headline.
Exactly. So, and you'll see things, so-and-so discusses divorce. You're like, no way, what? And then you'll read into it, and they'll talk about their divorce, their first divorce.
Right.
The first wife, not who they're married to now. They're not lying.
Yeah.
And it's great. So if you want to learn that stuff, get a magazine or get a subscription to People or Us. Or get your newspaper and read how they write that, and then you'll understand how to write a news release. You'll kind of learn how to hype it up a little bit. Now, don't oversell, because you still got to deliver, and don't lie. But you can make, if somebody says, hey, I'm raking leaves, I got a ton to rake today, I can't come to that meeting. Leaves means 2 or 3 leaves. Well, when you say leaves, I'm thinking you're raking thousands, because you can't make the meeting. But if you're just raking 3 leaves around your yard, that's not lying. You're still raking leaves. It's not 1 leaf. You're shuffling 3 leaves around your yard. You just want to come to the meeting.
Yeah.
So you're not lying. So as long as you can rake and miss the meeting and you're raking 3 leaves, you're not really lying. You're still raking leaves.
Yeah.
So, and you still have leaves in a tree. So don't lie where you don't have a tree or leaves. But just, long as you can meet the demands of the BS you're trying to sell, because I am a big believer too, fake it till you make it, you know what I mean? There's so many stories like that, because long as you can meet the demand of faking it, you know what I mean?
As long as you have the talent to back it up.
Of course, or at least, or the gumption to hopefully meet the demand and go, man, we made it, whew, thank God. You know what I mean? It's like when I vanished my train on America's Got Talent. We pitched that idea, and 30 minutes later, they called back and said, great, no problem. Like, great, so you've done it before. I was like, oh yeah, big stuff, and lots, no problem. And I hung up the phone, I was passed out, because I'd never done anything that large. And I had my ideas on paper, but I didn't know if it worked. It's a massive unit, that weighed, it weighed tons. So how do you move something like that? So all of a sudden, I thought, man, okay, I sold it. They're doing it, they've agreed on it, now what do we do? I did mean it worked, but that was one of those things where I didn't ever do that. I've never done that before, But I met it and it worked, and I'm like, good, never do that again. Thank you. So that's the point. When you write a news release, put stuff in there that's interesting. Then the next paragraph, put down, you can write other stuff. I graduated from this school, he's toured the world this much. Some other bio stuff. So basically, biography stuff, meaning how many years you've done magic. Where did you come from? Did you just move to town? Or you're a local that's been here forever? You have a degree in this. Your parents supported you, or they didn't support you, and you had to do it on your own, or whatever stuff you want to put in there. Then you can start putting more interesting stuff that they could pull and pick. You might only get a 2-inch article, or you may get a full page.
Yeah.
But then at the end, you want to tag it off with currently performing on this cruise line, or currently performing at this community center, or currently booking dates through 2016 if you don't have anything. And then at the end, you always want to put, for direct questions or interview, please call or write to, and you put your email address and your phone number if you want. If you have a publicist, or you have a mom that's a manager, or a dad that's a manager, put their information. If you want to seem like you're more mysterious to get a hold of, great. But you should always leave something where they can get a hold of you directly to ask questions, because look, if they want to talk to you more, guess what? That means a bigger article.
Yeah.
So
and I can't tell you how many times, too, I've done press releases where they publish the full thing.
Yes.
And something I learned early on, too, to add to what you're saying is, oftentimes I would say, well, I don't know which photo to send. I like this one, and this one's okay, and I'll let them pick. And that's a mistake.
Yes.
Because they'll usually pick the one that I'm like, why did they pick that? Then I'm like, why did I send that? And so
Yes.
it totally falls back on the person who's sending it. So to add to what you're saying, send only 1 or 2 photos that you want them to print.
That you love.
And don't send 10 of them, because they're only going to pick 1, maybe 2. And pick those like that, I think.
100%.
I learned that the hard way.
We all have.
Yeah.
It's you know, there's a couple of stories out there that I can relate to where, because you're so proud of yourself. Like, oh, it's me. And it's me at the pyramids, and it's me here, and it's me in Egypt, and it's me on a ship, and you have a couple of headshots, and they'll always pick the one that you can't stand the least.
Yeah, they're like,
and then you're upset that they printed it. You're like, well, you gave it to them.
Yeah.
You know, perfect example of Christopher Hart, who's a dear friend of mine, loved the guy to death, and he had an article in Mum magazine, Mum or Magic, and they were picking his photos, and he's got some beautiful photos. You know what I mean? Good-looking man, the hand, and all this other stuff. And then there's half a page picture of him in Egypt, halfway through the day in I think it's socks and sandals, shorts and a tank top on a camel.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to Egypt in the middle, it's hot as anything. You're on tour, and that's the one. Now, I know he wanted to share that he was cultural. We all do this, international, and it's pretty cool. You're on a camel, because not many people get that photo. But if you had a choice of 3 photos, that probably isn't necessarily the one you'd want. You know, it's like Lefty got an article in Magic Magazine, and he did the same thing. He gave a bunch of photos. And in the magazine, he had a lot of cool photos, but then his dad was the one that got him into Magic. Well, half the page was a picture of him and his old partner, Seth Udoff. And Seth is playing guitar, and he's doing Magic. Half a page of the 2 of them that this act they did only for a few years.
Yeah.
And there was no picture of him and his father in the whole article. And his father started him in Magic.
And that's what the article is about.
Well, yeah, about him evolving through his,
okay.
Through his life. And I'm like, how do you not put a picture of you and the man that started you? To me, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you had half a page. You put this other, which is great. The photo is nice, but you could have put 2 photos in that space.
Yeah.
Well, you gave him the photo.
Yeah.
So you know what? When you give an editor or an owner of a magazine photos, it's their right to do what they want. It's their magazine.
Yeah.
You can never blame them. So when you give them whatever you give them, like that's why I only give them 1 or 2 photos. And they go, that's not very many. I'm like, that's all I got. Even if they ask me, do you have any more? I'm like, that's all I got right now. Because now they'll either use them and blow them up or whatever they do, but now they're forced to use those, and that's what I want to see in there.
Yeah.
Or whatever you give, make sure you love the photo. Not like, you got to love it, But you're right, 100%. Yeah, so there you go for the photo thing, It's very important. You got to love the photos when you give them to them, because when you do see the article, you never want to worry about, I wonder which photo they used. Because it doesn't matter. If you love them all, it really doesn't matter.
What kind of tips do you have when, let's say that they make the connection, they call you about doing the interview? Because here's one thing that has happened to me. Unfortunately, with Ringling, we did 500 PR appearances, so we got really efficient at doing interviews. It was a skill set we developed, and I say my wife and I both would do the interviews, right? Early on, I would do the immediate release. Here's my number, and they would call me like driving home from school. Hey, this is so and so from the paper. Want to ask you a few questions? And you're like trying to navigate traffic. Right. How do you prepare for that type of interview? Because you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know what kind of questions they're going to ask. You don't know if they're going to ask difficult questions. So how would you prepare for an interview? Or would you give them a time period in your immediate release, and for questions call on Friday between 3 to 5, or to schedule an interview, email here, or what? Any thoughts?
It depends on when and how quickly they need an article. Like in town, there'll be some news that breaks, and I'll get a call from the writer in town at 3 o'clock, and it has to be submitted by 5.
Okay.
So I'll see a text message, and I got to jump on it, because I have to. If I want to get my name in the paper, or I want to be involved in the story, I got to get back to them now. It doesn't matter, because they have a deadline. It doesn't matter whether I call them back or not. It's going to press.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, or print. So there'll be many times. I'm, literally, I'm on my bike, or I'm walking the dogs, and I'm trying to get them to be quiet, or I'm driving, or on my hoverboard, or whatever I am, and the phone rings, but you answer, because that time is of the essence. If time isn't of the essence, and you have a control over it, I like getting an email of questions, because now it gives me time to think about my answer and make sure I answer the way I want to. The more you do interviews, as you said, you've done so many, you have your stock answers, you just know.
Yeah.
And it gets more comfortable with time. But if it's new to you, I would always defer to, hey, do me a favor, could you just email me the questions? I'll send them back. And if there's any other things you have that you want me to answer, just give me a call after. So therefore you have a shot at getting things right. And because I've done things many times where you're talking, and we're talking like you and I are now, just casually, right? And we've known each other for a long time. And as we're talking, they'll ask me about different questions. And all of a sudden, I'll just converse about something. Like I just said about, Chris Hart on the camel, or Doug not getting his dad in the Magic magazine. Well, those aren't negative things. But if that's what I sometimes say, the newspaper will go, Murray's upset at magazine because it does not have photo. Now all of a sudden,
Right.
oh my God, I didn't see that. That was not where. And I thought, oh yeah, I did say that. I shouldn't. Because as soon as you share that information with them, they can spin it any way they want because I
Yeah.
did say that.
Yeah.
Right? And then they can write that whatever way they want, right? So anyway, so that's kind of the issue with that situation. So in essence, whatever you put down on a piece of paper when you send them, at least you can see it if you're new at this. But if you're not new at it, you can do it whenever you want. But when questions come at you, say you're expecting a call when you're at work or driving or at school or at a place where you might not know when they're going to call, if there's things you want to remember that you're not sure of, I would write them down, like quickly, like, okay, I graduated in this year, if you can't remember because maybe it's been too long. Oh, I won this trophy in this year, or I won that trophy that I want to brag about. Because sometimes years and dates, as you get older, you start forgetting exactly when and where, and you want to make sure it's specific.
Yeah.
So write that down, and say there's certain things you want to make sure you mention. So you write down, your parents' name. Mine was Arlene and John SawChuck, and I started at age 7, and da-da-da. So if you have this down, when the phone does ring, you put it down, and as they're talking, a lot of times at the end of the interview, most of them will say, is there anything else you want to include or share with us? And you look at them and go, God, your mom and dad. I want to thank my mom and dad for all their support, or I want to thank my sister, or my pet dog, or my hamster, or whatever. Because you will forget sometimes, because you'll go on your train of thought this way, and then they'll end and go, thank you very much, oh, thank you. And you hang up the phone and go, oh, man, I forgot to mention this. Or, I should draw my website or something. So put these things down if you're worried about forgetting to put them in, because it's very, very important to get that in your review or your article, because they don't come around all the time. So
There was a great, I want to say it was like an hour-long presentation I listened to on Audible or something a long time ago, and it was about getting publicity through the radio. And what this guy would do is he was an author, he was selling books, and he would send out his information to all the radio stations, and he would just look them up online or whatever, send out the information. And for interviews, call me. And what he would do is he would send a packet with a list of questions. Well, every morning, they're forced to create a 3 to 4 hour morning show. Every single morning, 5 days a week, right? And so they sit down at 4 a.m. and they figure out what they're going to talk about. Well, then they'd call him at 5:30, and the interview questions were already in a row. He said he would do the interviews, and I don't suggest this. He said he'd do the interviews laying down in bed, and because he knew what the questions were. He wrote them.
Sure.
They'd go through the questions. They could look at that and say, well, this is an easy interview. This guy, he's given us the questions. We know this is going to kill 3 to 5 minutes, and we'll play a song, and then we'll cut to break, and cool, get him on the phone. And so he made it really easy, and he only gave them the information that he wanted them to have. And I think that's a good beginner's tip for somebody, because in that beginning time frame, they might ask you really tough. Like with Ringling, I give this example a lot. We're doing a radio interview, and we're in studio live, and they're interviewing a police officer. And I always do my homework on the people before I go into the interview.
Smart too.
And the promotion that we were doing was you could come in early and get your kids fingerprinted, and for like if they get lost or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so the police officers, and they're talking about it, and then they bring me on, and they're like, well, yeah, because this is good because, especially like at a circus, I mean, that's where all sorts of kids could get abducted. And I'm like, flip on the mic, I'm like, well, actually, the
Now you're
DJ
gonna save the
so-and-so,
day.
don't you have 2 kids, a boy and a girl who play soccer? And I knew that he had just come from a soccer tournament. I'm like, that's actually worse because you don't know who's in the audience. There's no security, where we have, and I turn it into a positive. Like,
course.
we actually have some of the best security because we care about the animals, so we have security blocking them. We have security for all the gates for the safety of the performers, and turn it into like, and if you come an hour early, you can see all this and sell a ticket and blah,
That's
blah, blah.
right.
So with all that practice, you get that. But in the beginning, you don't have that practice to lean back
Yes.
on. So having that, like, here's 12 questions, or here's 6 questions that I know I can answer from bed if they call me in the middle of the night.
Yes, and a lot of big stars have that because the more famous you are, or the older you are, the more drama you have in your life sometimes, you know what I
Right.
mean? And as you have that...
What do you mean?
Yeah, shocking, yeah. Wonder what? But there's many things, and there's certain questions, you're like, here we go again with that question, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes the more drama you have in your life, or the more life stories you have, you can curb that going before you get into the interview. You go, hey, no questions about this, no questions about that, and then you clear it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes they will go there. And me, I've always been open book. I'm like, ask away, because to me it makes an interview more interesting if people go down a certain road they shouldn't, or maybe you're not expecting it. And that's what we go back to that marketing thing. It's you. No one can be you again.
Yeah.
If you always have it contrived a certain way, now you're sometimes going like everyone else. But if you let it ride, sometimes you can have some really cool interviews. You know. But if there's certain things you don't want mentioned, it's really smart to put that in there.
Give us a couple of tips maybe on getting those interviews, especially because they need to print news, they need to have shows on the radio, but it seems like when you really want to get them, they're harder to get. You know what I mean? So what tricks are you using to be able to get those interviews?
Well, you know, when you want to get on the air, you want to get in the newspaper, first of all, as you said, you got to realize they need stuff every day. Newspapers need articles and stories because that's how they work. The radio station needs stories. News needs stories. News needs news. You know what I mean? So they need you as much as you need them.
Yeah.
They obviously are more of a center for the news, and if the president gets shot, well, all the stories like us just go aside because that's important, and they'll do 3 pages on stuff like that. And I've heard of many people losing covers of newspapers because of that.
Yeah.
Because things happen. So, but the way to do it is you write your news release. You lock it in a Word format. I do it 2 ways. I put it in Word, and then I also drop it in the email of the text. Because when you go to send this to news agencies, sometimes if it's an attachment, they won't accept it because of their spam filters and their security in the press. So if it's an attachment, they think it could be a virus.
Interesting.
So if it's in the actual email, you drop it in there. Now it's right there. So it's just copy and paste it. It's usually a safer way to go. It's not as professional because it's not on a. But that a lot of times, if it's an attachment, it will not be accepted. And the best way to do is if it's your local town, if you're traveling somewhere and you want to get the newspaper, just Google. Cincinnati newspapers or Cleveland, Ohio newspapers, or wherever you're going to, Orlando, Florida newspapers. And you type in there, and you'll see the 7 that come in. And because you're not from that area, you probably don't know which ones are the major ones. But usually the top 4 or 5, one of those will be the major newspaper in that city. But you'll get 6 or 7. There'll be smaller ones or whatever. Pick whatever you want. Sometimes some cities have 20 of them. There's probably about 6 or 7 that are major. The other ones are probably smaller community ones or just once every 4-month newspapers. You don't know always. But the thing is, the beautiful thing about email now is it doesn't cost you anything but time of typing it in. So send it to them. So you send the news release, and sometimes when you're doing it this way, you want to put at the bottom photos and video, etc., can be sent at request, because if you attach the things again, it might bump to their spam filter and they'll never see the email. So you can go to these whatever website, if it's a newspaper website or the local news or morning shows. There's always a director, or go to the contact page. If you can't find the contact page, go to the bottom of the website and you'll see contact us, and find any email. If you can't find the right one about entertainment or news tips, which is usually there, or something, just find something, because once it's sent to that person, usually they'll forward it to the right people.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Or even the webmaster. So if you can't find anything, click the webmaster, and because they're the ones who run the site a lot of times, they'll just forward it on. You know what I mean? It's not the best way to do it, but if you do it, if they get it, they'll just forward it to whoever runs the site, and then it'll bump around a little bit if you really can't find the right one. And sometimes they won't give you an email address. It'll be news tips, and it'll already have an autofill form. Well, then type your name, company, then type in your title, and then just drop in your news release in that spot, wherever it is. And then, once again, at the bottom it says photos and video at request. And I say video because a lot of these, they also put online as well, blogs and stuff, and they always can include a video.
There's a tip that I've been using a lot lately, and that is a company online called Brickwork.
Okay.
And they're an outsourced, virtual assistant, basically. And so you buy allotment of time, and based on what you're asking them to do, and it's usually outsourced to India or someplace, but based on what you're asking them to do, they'll charge you $5 an hour to $15 an hour. And I'm talking for $15 an hour, they can draft legal documents.
Oh, wow.
So for $5 an hour, they can research contact information. So what I've done is, if I know I'm going to go to a city, I'll contact this company, Brickwork, and I've got a virtual assistant now that I work with, and I say, hey, Amir, or whatever her name is, can you please check into Orlando? I'm looking for newspapers in Orlando, but more specifically, can you find stories on entertainment that are written on Tuesdays, and find that person's email address? Because rather than sending it to somebody just random, she'll create a database for me that on every Tuesday, so-and-so writes an article. And the last 2 weeks, they wrote it on this and this. And so then I can just write a quick email, hey Josh, I loved your story on this and this, and I'm going to be coming to town. I included my press release, thanks.
Smart.
So it seems really personal, yet you had somebody else just do all the work for you. And
that's really smart.
And you spend no time, and the money's super cheap. You buy like a block of $100, and you can use that for anything. So I've been using that for database creation for, like I said, for that type of thing.
And that's smart, because publicists start at $3,000 a month and go up to 10 or more. So, with what you're paying for that is essentially what a publicist does. You can't beat the price.
Well, and you can do the same thing. You go to Upwork.com, you have somebody write you a press release, and then you send it off to India at Brickwork.com, and they go out and they send it. I don't even have to be the one that follows up. I could ask that person to say, here's my press release.
Yes.
Contact everybody that writes on Tuesdays in this city, and reference this article, and give them exactly what you want, and have them do the work for you. And it takes you the same amount of time. I personally like to have a little bit more personal connection with it,
sure.
but I think at some point I'll just let go of that and let somebody else do it. But
why not? Because it's a game. When you send out press releases, it's like throwing. It's direct marketing is what it is. It's throwing a dart at those balloons at the fair. You know what I mean? You think you're aiming at that one, but you might hit this one. But you'll take it. It still gets you a prize.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you're spamming it out to everything. Hopefully, the way you wrote the article and whatever is interesting enough. You drop your website in there, of course, as well. And that's another thing. Going back to PR and marketing. You should definitely have a website, you know what I mean? And with a website, which, obviously the website's been around for 20 years now, but you should at least have 5 pages, a home page, a gallery with photographs, a video page, and a testimonial and / where you've worked client page and a contact page, minimum. You can add other pages, of course. But you really, because nowadays when I meet somebody and if they say they're as great as they are or they're a professional, I'll see if they got a website. And if they don't have a website, then I really question how professional they are.
Yeah.
It's just the way I do things, you know what I mean? I figure if Ryan Seacrest can have a website, you can have a website.
Right, and they're super cheap.
They're
super cheap now.
Yeah, you can make your own. You can go to GoDaddy and make your own, and they might not be as professional, but I'd rather see something up there than nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then obviously, the photos you put up and that, it is equal to your work. You want to dress successful, so wear a suit that's tailored and fits right.
Yeah.
So when you walk in a room, you look like money or you look like success. It doesn't just always look like money. But if you wear a suit that's oversized and baggy and shoes that don't fit right and whatever, then you're only dressing for what you think you're worth. And it's a big, it goes back to PR and marketing. It's all about because you're the brand, you're the product. So.
Yeah. Well, let's jump over to the web, to more kind of a press kit. Mm-hmm. So you've got, and I think, and I talked to Joe Vitale about this a lot too, everybody is going digital. I want to go physical now. So I want to send physical mail. So I'll do the digital mail, email, press releases, but I'm also going to put that in. If it's important to me, I'm going to send it in the mail too. If I didn't get a reply digitally, I'll send it physically. Yeah. Because I don't get junk mail anymore at home. I don't get any.
Yeah.
But if somebody sends me a letter,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
But if someone sends me a letter, I get it. And it doesn't ever get lost in the mix of junk, right?
That's right.
And so that's where I'm shifting my business back towards, is a lot more physical mail, because it's expensive to get leads no matter how you do it. So if you're spending 50 cents between a stamp and a postcard, I'd rather do that because it sounds personal to somebody. It doesn't feel like junk.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the internet, so like YouTube and Facebook, as well as a website, and then let's kind of go more into the physical realm of face-to-face.
Sure. I mean, like you're talking about the hard press kits. I love hard press kits. I've used them all my life. I still do to this day, but now I use them at the right time. Now everything's digital. I send my EPK kit, which is electronic press kit. That's what it stands for. Because that's the way people do things. I was so against it because I'm so old-fashioned. I love vintage stuff. I love old stuff. And I just like the way things were done years ago. And why? Because I think there's more quality. But
so true.
Things have changed. Now I can send my EPK kit to 3 people. 1 in San Diego, 1 in Seattle, and 1 in New York. And we can all be on the phone together and look at it within 5 minutes or less.
Yeah.
That's the bonus of having an electronic press kit versus a mailed one. Because this guy might get it then, this lady may get it now, they might lose it, it might be there. This is a beautiful thing where you send it and now we're all on the phone. Oh yeah, scroll down 4 pages. This is what you were asking me about this thing. Oh, you want to see here's my TV stuff, and we have a conversation. And there I can include a video. We can all watch it together, and it's an instant conversation now versus 7, 12 days, set it up. When I love hard press kits is when I do a pitch. So say I'm pitching a big show to a casino or a TV show or me hosting a new show. I learned this from Marvin Roy and Carol, Mr. Electric. I want to come into a room and overwhelm somebody. And what I mean by that is we're sitting at this table here. So it's a boardroom table, and there's 6 people around this table, which actually is very funny. But that would be great, wouldn't it? Walk in a big room, you're like, wow, this is interesting. So, that would be funny to try as a psychological thing. So they're all here. I sit down, and here's what I do, and this is exactly what I do, and I don't do this, but this is what I do. So say I have all this, and I'm going to ruin your set. So you have all this stuff, right? This is exactly what I do to somebody, not even kidding. So I do this, right? Come here. So I come in my briefcase, and I have all this stuff in my briefcase, all right? And I go, hi, pleased to meet you.
Some
David?
weird stuff in your briefcase.
All this stuff, yeah. So I go, hey, David, pleased to meet you. I'm glad, thanks for having me in, really appreciate it. Yeah, I've heard a bit about you, and you sit and talk for a while, usually not with a nice bug on your lap, but,
right.
And you have a chat, and then you go, really, it's great. So I've seen your website, I saw a couple emails you sent with your manager, and that's like, yeah, so, what can we do for you? I said, well, just to let you know a little bit about me, here's my headshot. You can have that if you want. And then here's a coffee mug you can have.
Sweet. Yeah.
And then here's actually one of my press kits. You can have that
great.
too.
Yeah.
And then here's one of my bobbleheads you can have.
Right.
Your
bobblehead, by the way, toured around with me for years.
See, there you go.
Broke. Yeah.
And then there's another one of my posters.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So now you're sitting in front of you.
And you have all this stuff. Yeah.
This is you. So now I'm sitting here talking to you, and I'm like, hey,
Right.
So if you didn't know about me, now you do, because this is me.
Yeah.
And then I go, so there's some stuff for you, and they're all literally, and I want them to be sitting there like this. I really want them to be at this moment going, wow, is your headshot and Fred, wow, you really got. And I want this moment where they got both hands full, and they have everything in front of them, because I want them to go, shit, I need to book you. Like, how have you done all this stuff, and I don't know about you? That's what happens.
Cool.
Unless you're Elton John,
Right.
A lot of people nowadays. So many people are famous nowadays. Put your set back so it looks. You got to keep the continuity, my friend. But my point is, things you want tangible stuff, because when people can touch it, they feel it's a value. When you get a bag of chips, we know there's 3 chips in a bag. We know that, but when it's full, we're like, man, that's really full, right? So that's what you want. So when you sit down at a meeting, this is where I find hard press kits and solid items are a huge bonus. Mailing them now is not bad unless I have a hook in there. And I'll get back to that in a minute.
I want to touch on that too before we go too far off. So
okay, go on. Go see what you're saying. So
another use for a physical press kit is when you're trying to get the attention of somebody. Like I actually got Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank to call me on the phone for an elevator pitch.
Okay.
And she said at the end of the pitch, she's like, I love it. I'm interested in this. Send me your information. I was like, funny you mentioned that. I sent you a PDF, got deleted. I sent it FedEx, you never replied. So I put it all in a garbage can, galvanized can, taped it shut with a neon post-it note saying, hey, since this is where the rest of my press kits ended up, figured I'd save you the time. Put that all in the trash can, stenciled my logo on it, taped it up, and I had newspaper, I had physical stuff. It rattled, it wasn't packed, like it made sound. And I sent that to her, empty, not in a box. And so she's in the conference room in New York and talking to me, and she's got like 12 advisors around her. And so send me a press kit and we'll talk. I'm like, funny you mentioned that. I did this, and I mentioned the garbage can. I hear one of her assistants like, oh yeah, we got it over here. And I hear clang, and I hear the tape ripping off, and then they open it. And so it got her attention, and it got her. I was able to get her attention through social media, but to get her to call me. But and you mentioned elephant. That was actually how I did it. Was with an elephant.
See, there you go.
But the physical press kit got her attention more so to be able to finish what I was trying to go after. So I just want to throw that out because again, everybody's just, it's so easy to do it digitally.
Of course it is, and it
loses it.
Yes, especially if they're not expecting it, or they don't see it coming,
Yeah.
or you don't follow up right away with it, or you don't get a response back. And you're right, that's a great idea, setting something like that, because I've done various things where I've sent press kits in washing machine boxes.
Just a huge box.
Yeah, and I tape it in the middle, and I put another box inside. So you have the big washing machine box. You put another box inside, so it lifts, right, and then in the middle, I put the press kit and everything in the middle, and tape that put that in the middle. So when they open the box, it's already halfway to them. And then usually sometimes if I know they drink tea or smoke cigars or whatever, I'll put all that going, hey, next time you have a cigar, have some tea or whatever they're doing. And I'll do research on what they do and like, you know what I mean? Or if they like golf, some 3 golf balls and a club, a cheap club I can buy from Salvation Army, and I put it in there, right?
Yeah.
And then next time you're on the golf course, take this with you, maybe light reading between your hole-in-ones, you know, or whatever. And then when they open it, now this big box coming into an office, you have to look at it.
Yeah.
And you have to receive it. You can't throw it away. And even if you got to throw it away, it's a long walk to the big dumpster.
Right.
So that you open this thing, and now you're gonna have a laugh with it, and they're gonna say, "Guys, you got to come and see this. You just come here. You got to see this. This is the envelope was mailed in. It's a conversation. They're gonna go home and tell their kids and their husbands and wives and all this stuff." So, so you're right about that. It's a big importance when you want to get someone's attention. Do it. Go out of your way to do it, like you did with the garbage.
And in VHS tape days, I ordered custom, like I would send a VHS tape like everybody else. And I went into an agent's office once, and I saw all the VHS tapes lined up, and they all looked the same. So one, I made mine like obnoxiously hot pink because it stood out.
That's right.
And so they saw that spine on the edge, and it stood out. I don't really use much hot pink in my show, but
That's right. It doesn't matter.
It was different. But then I changed it from just the VHS cassette box to a custom vacuum molded thing that held 2 tapes. So one was my full show. That was the bottom one. The top one was a like 3-minute sizzle. And it was, again, overwhelming them with the content like you're talking about. But this thing was massive. It looked really clean. It was full color print on the front, the spine, the back. And it was big enough that they had to notice it. They opened it up. It had like a binder in there, plus and that was a resume and headshots and everything that they could then post if they wanted to use it. And then those 2 VHS tapes. And so this was a massive kit that stood out amongst anybody's. And I literally had one agent call and book me right away. He's like, "This kit's amazing. Like, if your kit's this good, you must also be." So,
of course. You want to mail out the quality that you want to be perceived in.
We should do a bonus section and send out something about like unique press kit ideas for people.
Yeah, it'd be a great idea. Or top 10 ideas.
Yeah.
It's true. Because it's one of those things where you're right, and that's when the physicality of a press kit really works, because of the fact that when you're in an office, you hand somebody, because I hate walking in and then we're back to a PowerPoint. So now nobody's got anything in their hands, and they're looking at me again, which they can see on the computer screen. Like, I just gotta, and look, now, I get it. It's not cheap to have coffee mugs and bobbleheads, and I get that. So you don't necessarily need to go that distance.
But look at the shows you're doing versus the shows that other guys are trying to get.
That's right. I'm in Vegas and I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm doing TV and all that. Fair enough, But as I know, money doesn't grow on trees, which is all of us don't want to go under just to put a press kit together. But you can buy 20 coffee mugs with a logo on it, one color. For maybe $2.50 a piece. So you can do just 10, or you don't need to buy 500,
Yeah.
Your press kits, go to, a little secret for press kits is you can go to Office Depot now, and when you go there, what I do is I take all my news releases, and I literally go to the paper section, and I pull out every color possible, blue, yellow, fuchsia, pink, whatever the hell. I get everyone, and every single news release is photocopied on a different color. So in my press kit, you go through them all, and they're all different colors.
Okay.
It's just versus going white, white, white. It's boring. They don't read them anyways. They look at the picture. Oh, this is the Sunday Globe. Oh, this is the Times. They don't. They just need to go. Wow, you've done stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to make it entertaining to them. So I do that. I fold a poster, put that in, put a postcard in there from some of my old stuff or whatever. I got real articles. I'll drop that in. So you can. There's ways doing a color photocopy. What I mean is not color, but doing a copy, a black and white on a color piece of paper, is only a couple cents more. So you don't need to photocopy a color. Copy at $2 each or $1.50 or whatever, because that is expensive. Just get colored paper, 2 cents more, and color your black and white stuff on that, just to make it exciting. At the end of the day, it's just to show quantity and the quality that you've done and what you've done. And now they got this big press kit that looks like you've done everything, which you have, and then give them one coffee mug, or you can get pencils made with your name on it.
Yeah.
They're handy. So they're one of those things where you can actually. They're cheap and easy, and it's another thing you can give away. You don't need a bobblehead; they're not cheap,
Yeah.
But a pencil's just something else to put in their hand. So
yeah.
So there you go.
And Franz Ferrari had a pen. They make it at popupstands.com or postupstands.com. There's a pen where you can write with it, and it has this banner that pulls out. It was totally cheesy, but I remembered it.
Yes.
And
so there you go.
Another great thing.
There it is.
All right, so the physical stuff, obviously, we could go on for days about some unique things, and I want to do that as a bonus thing. Maybe we can. I don't know how we'll squeeze it in, but we'll try to do it sometime.
Sure.
But let's talk more about digital now, because we got Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Bumblebee, or whatever the heck, Swarm, whatever it is. There's all these different things now coming out. There's new ones coming out every day. So one, you have to find the ones that are working, and but at the same time, you also want to be the first one to a new thing, like Gary Vaynerchuk saying Snapchat's going to be huge. Everybody get on it. And Snapchat when my friend told me, my friend in Salt Lake City, he runs a multi-million-dollar software company, and he's like, oh, get on Snapchat. I'm like, isn't that for sending porn to each other?
Yeah, right.
Right? And he's like, no, check it out. And so he sent me some porn. No, I'm kidding.
Of course, yeah, exactly, right.
So he sends me. They do a bunch of different stuff. Anyway. So let's talk about the social media side of things, because that's something you've had a huge success with, especially recently. It's just exploded. I don't know if we can share some of the footage and stuff that you've done
sure.
here, but you've done some great things. If you want to kind of relay some of the things you've done on YouTube, and then maybe tie it into what other people can do, and we'll
Yeah,
go
I mean,
from there.
you really got to be open to that. I got friends who don't want to be a part of it. You know, they're like, it's not for me. It's not this and that. But the problem is, I think you're missing out on a massive opportunity to publicize yourself. Because here's the problem. Back in the day, like we were talking about press kits, we had to print these things. We had to make them. We had to do the shows to get the news release in the newspaper, find the papers, make the photocopy, then put it in a press kit. That's a folder, and it's a custom folder. It's expensive. All this stuff, right? And now everything's inexpensive. We could do a photo shoot right here, right, with our cameras. Now with Photoshop and filtering, but make a decent headshot realistically.
Yeah.
Not as good as obviously, and Leibowitz or Herb Ritz or any of those people, but the point is, we could, do a headshot. We can shoot a quick video of me vanishing something here. That's our video, right? And we can upload it, and it's free. It costs us really just our time.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, we had to buy a video camera for a fortune, get a tape, then transfer, then edit it, and we can even edit on our phones now. It's such a different world right now, and it's free indirectly. It's not free, but it's really inexpensive. So the greatest thing is normally you have to hire a publicist for $3,000 to $10,000 a month, and I have one that I work with easily 6-7 months a year, and it helps because they are doing a lot of stuff that I can't do and get in with places. But most people don't have the funds or the time or the consistency of shows necessary to use a publicist, because you want to have new stuff all the time. But the greatest thing about Twitter or Instagram or YouTube or Facebook is it's your free publicist.
Yeah.
It's free to sign up to Facebook. It's free to sign up to Twitter. It's free to sign up to Instagram. There's Instagram models that are friends of mine that are on Instagram with 3.9 million followers. And every day they post a picture of themselves looking all sexy by the pool. And they're holding, again, what are they holding? Like GNC protein. They're holding Snapple. You know why they're holding Snapple? Because they paid 10 grand a photo to be there. Because they got 3.9 million viewers watching their Instagram. That's where this is going. We're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
Merv Griffin's been doing it since he invented Jeopardy with advertising. Wheel of Fortune, same thing. It's just in the power of our own hands now. So this is where it's all going. YouTube, they always tack those commercials on the beginning of most of the videos that are popular. Who gets paid? People like myself get paid because I have a channel and I have a video. Make a channel. You may not make much off it, but put a channel out there. And you can start dropping your own videos on because it's free. As long as you're not stealing the content or you're using music that's non-copyrighted and all that other stuff, it's free, and it's a great avenue to showcase yourself to the world, not just Vegas or Idaho or Michigan. Or as soon as you put it on there, it goes to the world.
And
instantly.
you're making it revenue off of the hits from that.
Of course.
So
all that stuff. In the last 5.5 months, with my team in Los Angeles, which are like, they could be my kids, they're like in their 20s. But they've been doing the YouTube stuff and the Facebook stuff since they were 10, so they're just right up on it. They're in their early 20s now. But some of their channels are worth $2 or $3 million because of their subscribers. And we collaborated, and now we have a partnership. And over the last 5.5 months, we've had over 300 million views. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, a friend of mine, makes between $5,000 and $10,000 a month off of a survival channel where he has almost 100,000 subscribers.
Wow.
And it's him and a video camera. He doesn't even edit it. No mic, no lighting. Sometimes he's out of focus. It's just him being real, talking about survival, or it might be him shooting. It might be him hot wiring a car. It might be him it's everything, right? And he's making a very decent living off of putting 3 videos up that are unedited. He literally just plugs his camera in. He's like, I don't know how to edit, David. I don't know. I've talked about editing videos for him because we affiliate market with him with some different projects we do for that business. But he doesn't. He's like, I don't know how to edit. I just know how to plug in my camera and drag it here and then hit type in some keywords.
That's right.
So obviously you can monetize off of that as a multiple stream of income because Dan Sperry and I were talking about this a little bit. You have merchandise, you have backroom sales, you have all these different things for income. So in addition to it being a great way to get your face out, you can also monetize
Yeah, of course, you monetize it through YouTube and you get onto their program. And there's other sites out there that there's sponsorship deals that could come to you, and you can do product placement things, and it's building, and the great thing is it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are against, I want to be private, well, you can be private, but you can also showcase things you want to showcase, because this is how we live with our phones. I mean, this is probably the longest I've been without my phone, just so you know. Just
right.
so you know, I'm having a hard time breathing, but I'll be okay. But the point is, we're always living on our phones, and that's how we watch stuff.
Yeah.
And very interesting that 85% of most people watch videos muted. This just came out this week. 85% of most people watch videos on Facebook muted, because either they're in school, in a library, in a room where nobody could hear them. So when you design a video, keep that in mind. Magic's easy.
That's gold right there for
yeah.
people, because I think.
Just remember that.
And we were talking about it before, just off camera, about how timing of videos. I don't know if you want to share some of that, because I thought it was pretty.
Yeah, timing with videos when you upload them. You know what I mean? When you put them online, there's certain times and days. Kind of people say when you should buy an airplane ticket, they say Wednesdays are great because it's the middle of the week. You get better fares at that time. I don't know how true that is or not. I've been lucky with a Wednesday when I buy tickets, but that could be just a myth. Or maybe,
at least pay a fortune no matter when it
I know,
is.
right? I know, right? So, but there is times that all of a sudden airlines will realize, oh, we got this many seats available, let them go,
Yeah.
Hotels.com does it as well. They get towards the weekend, and if there's not enough, they'll let them go because they realize it's going to be empty. And every time that hotel room's empty, you lose money.
Yeah.
That day's gone forever. So, there's a time to release videos, and my guys are really on that in the sense of, if we release a video at, say, 6 in the morning in Vegas, which is Pacific Standard Time, that's 3 in the morning in Hawaii. So nobody's probably going to see it, but when they wake up, it's going to be on their feed at 6 or 7. At 6 o'clock, people will see it waking up, and for the next 3 hours in Vegas or LA. And then by that point, it's close to getting lunchtime in Central Time, right? So they'll watch it on lunch break.
Yeah.
And then in New York, if we do it at 6 in the morning, it's obviously 3 hours time difference, so it's going to be 9 in the morning. So they're going to work as well. But there's a time, and then in Europe, it's already evening.
Yeah.
So now they're watching before they go to bed. So there's certain times, and that's not always the time. That could be on a Wednesday. On a Friday, it could be earlier because people leave and go party on Fridays.
Yeah.
Sundays, people go to bed earlier. So, and they're not going out that night, so they'll stay around. Holidays, they're probably at their families, not the best. So there is definitely a timing to do this. I mean, it's not an exact science, but there is better times than not.
Well, there's a lot of analytics on it. Like my emails that I send out for my survival company is Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern, so 6 a.m. Vegas, like you're saying, and that is our by far our biggest open rate worldwide.
Yeah.
If we send it at noon, it's not the same.
Yeah.
And those emails just get filtered through. They don't get opened.
That's
you know,
right.
so.
That's true.
Measuring those type of analytics, I think, is really important.
It is, yeah. It's exhausting a little bit because you're trying to figure out when, because you just want to get it out there. But there is a bit of timing to do that. You know what I mean? It's like when you go to a party, I'll never arrive on time. I'm always fashionably late by 15 or 20 minutes. Now, if it's a show that starts at 9, I'm on time. But if
for
it's
filming this.
Exactly, yeah. But a couple minutes late. But thanks for letting me know whether.
Yeah.
So, but the point is, I'm always a little bit fashionably late because even when I throw a party, if I say, hey, the party's from 8 to like 2 in the morning, I got my show, I get home, I'm getting the bar ready, I'm getting food ready and all this stuff, I'm getting ready, and I say 8 o'clock, I kind of mean 8:15 or 8:20 because I'm still getting stuff ready, and there's always those 2 or 3 people that show up like, bam, 7:59, I'm like, no, or they show up 5 minutes early, I'm like, I needed that 5 minutes,
Yeah.
I want to run on the shower, I want to change my shirt, and hopefully they're good enough friends that I just go, but that's, so.
And hopefully they don't have Snapchat.
Exactly, tell me about it, right? Exactly, or maybe they do. So one of those things is the fact that I always end up fashionably late because I like coming in and making a bit of an entrance. I don't mean coming in, hitting a trampoline, doing a triple flip, and landing in the middle of the dining room.
It works. But...
Exactly, it does work, but it does get you kicked out. But you want to be a little bit late because you don't want to be the only person there. You don't want to be looking too eager. And I know this sounds so, I don't know if it's vain or so calculated, but when you show up to an event, you want to kind of mingle with the rest of the crew. You don't want to look, and don't be the last to leave. You know what I mean? So because you want to look like you got other places to go, and you want to let the people. You don't want to overdo your welcome. You got to really be aware of that. A lot of people don't understand that. Also with conversing, like you and I were talking, and obviously you're interviewing me, but when you have a conversation with somebody, it's like going on a first date. you want to hear that person speak too. I want to hear your thoughts on stuff. I want to hear the story about you mailing stuff in a garbage can. I want to hear when you send stuff out and stuff, because that's a conversation. So when you go to a party or anything, and going back to this party thing, talk about PR and marketing. The best form of marketing is shaking someone's hand. And I believe in this day and era, and this is my own pet peeve or an opinion, we've lost the sense of charm, charisma. We figured out how to, we don't know how to walk in a room. We don't know how to dress anymore, as I'm wearing a hoodie and you actually look really nice. But anyways, but it does have an M on it, branding people. Anyways, so, and
great shoes.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. God, I did my gardening in these days. Anyways, the other ones look just the same, and I put the wrong ones on. Damn it! But anyways, it's like being at home right now. So, and I got these vases, which is amazing. I got these. I know. But no, the point is shaking a person's hand, because when you shake someone's hand, it's a connection. And if you have a look or a brand or a moment, that's the moment. And look somebody right in the eye when you shake their hand. I know it's intimidating sometimes. I know it's weird, or it's somebody that you look up to, or they could book you and you're a little bit, look them right in the eye. Even for that second, it may kill you, but it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And so, and that's the best form of marketing. Because if they like you there, then what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a magician. No way, you're a magician. You know, we do this thing every year, a charity show at the so-and-so. You know, we could use a magician. Do you have a card? Yeah, I do. Then you have a business card. Well, actually, I haven't had one. So and always have, first thing, I know we started way back there with the whole know who you are thing. But even before you know who you are, get your name and your phone number and email on a piece of paper. Get a business card. It costs nothing.
Yeah.
And even before you know who the heck you are, it's cheap. I use uprinting.com. Because, and you can get fancy embossed and fancy stuff if you want. Mine are black with Murray's large. You can get it with my website and a phone number, and that's it. And then the back are blank, because I want, and they're matte, so I can write down my cell phone. I have my office number on it, but I never have my cell. And if I write my cell on the back, it means I really want you to have my number, in the sense of you can text me, my office line. That way, I don't have everybody texting and using my cell phone as a business. I'm once again, I read the newspaper, and I do have a house line still. I think I'm the only person that does both of those. But anyways, but my point is having that business card. And so when you give that business card, the business card, you can be as fancy as you want. The most important thing is put your name spelled right on there, your email address and your phone number. That's it. You know, you can put a photograph if you're a dancer or an actor, because that's kind of how you sell yourself. Even as a magician, you have a photo in there, but it's not the most important. You know, your name, website, so they can go, who's that guy? Oh, that's the face. Yeah, we did meet him. And then, of course, your email address. But that's shaking the hand and giving that business card. You know, I've done more business that way, because all of a sudden, and get their card. Get their card, because they may not email you. So if you meet the president of a casino, they're probably not going to email you. They don't need to. But try to get their card from them. And then once you have theirs, now you got the power. Now you can send them your EPK, your electronic press kit. You can mail them a garbage can full of fun stuff.
Right.
Once you have their card or their email, that's power. You know what I mean? But once again, you just got to, or remember where they work. Now that we got Google, you can Google it and all that. Back in the day, you had to go to the library and get a Yellow Pages book and nobody understands what I'm saying. But anyways, back in the day, we used to have these phone books. So, but now you can Google it and then mail something off. If you don't get a card, it's not the end of the world, because don't hound them. Like, let's not be dragging on their pant like, going, I need that card.
Yeah.
But you want to be nice. If they say they don't have one, that's fine. And then remember where they work. Either put it in your phone now or write it down, because you'll probably forget by the end, or you have too many glasses of wine. And then when you get home, Google it, find the person, just mail something then. It's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go back to mailing again, because it's hard to get their email. Or phone the secretary. Get the email if they'll give it to you, which usually they won't, so you got to go back to mailing it again. But that handshake is very important. And be classy, be charming. And your number one thing to do, which I haven't done in this interview because you're interviewing me, but is listen. Listen to, which you do, because your questions are really good, what you're asking on what I'm saying. But I've seen so many people new hosts. I know I'm going off topic a little bit, but it comes back to this. They got their 3 questions they're supposed to ask me. And they've got them locked in. They're so worried about saying it right and memorizing them. So I'll do a test. Honest to God, I'll do a test and see if they're really listening. Because I already know two questions in, whether they're actually listening to me or they're just feeding me a line just to get the footage.
Yeah.
And they'll go, so what's the best trick you've ever done? So a line of, how'd you get started in magic? Oh, I started in Vancouver, Canada, and I did this and that. Well, that's nice. And then they go to the next thing, I'm like, great. And then I'll go, okay, they're not really listening. So I'll go, yeah, so what's the best trick? Well, there's this big thing where I did this and I did this trick and I did a little trick with coins and I did this thing with CDs. And then later, once I got really good at magic, then I did this one trick. It was sex with a goat. And then I went after I did the sponge balls and I did a cut and sort of. That's excellent. So you've really done a lot. So yeah. And they'll go, and I'm like, you didn't hear what I said. And I'll do that to see if somebody will go, wait. You just said you had sex with a goat. I'm like, I was a test. I'm glad you're listening.
Yeah.
But now that you're listening, so I'll do that the odd time when I realize the person is just not in the position that you should. Now,
Yeah.
going back to a party and meeting somebody, that is your best form of marketing because it's you. This is it. You're meeting the guy or the woman that can book you for that gig. This is maybe the only time you'll meet.
Yeah.
Because you want to get into their office. Well, you're there at a party, or this is they own TNT Communications. They own whatever the TV station is, or MTV, or oh my God, you shake their hand, and then that's your moment. You know what I mean? And I've met many people that way. You know what I mean? Because I have that moment. And now I did a big charity called the Share Show in LA. It's a really big show that that Johnny Carson hosted for years when he was around, and Dean Martin and many of them. It's a really, really big charity for the rich in LA. And it's packed. We used to have 2,000 people. They used to raise tons and tons of money. And I did it with Ben Vereen, who's a very famous actor and singer, and he did Pippin on Broadway and all that, which I couldn't believe. I mean, because when you think of Ben Vereen, you think of me. No, you don't. But anyways, the point is, I was lucky enough to be in that. But people in that were Heather Locklear. You know, the other person was the guy that was partners with the producer of American Idol, and I can't think of the guy's name right now. Nigel. Nigel. And I know everyone's listening right now going, they're saying the last name right now, but I can't think of it. Nigel Lithgow.
Okay.
Nigel Lithgow is, You Think You Can Dance. He's the judge on that show.
Okay.
And he's also a big, big TV producer. In the Lines with Simon Cowell, well, he was there with his son. And they knew my publicist and my manager. They were all sitting at the table together. So I did my show, I walked off, and I shook hands with him, and he knew who I was, and of course I just did a show there. But then we started talking. We had a great glass of wine for about 20 minutes, had a great conversation. It had nothing to do with the business, but it had to do with just life. And it was the business, but not about me or him. Because that's another thing. Don't think you have to pitch right away. You. Just be you. That's why they say most biggest business decisions are made on the golf course. Why? Because you're just getting to know the person. That's your best PR move, is get them to know you and like you. Because if they like you, they'll book you if you're right for the venue.
Well, in some cultures, they'll go out and they'll have 5 meetings before they even talk business.
That's right, exactly.
So,
and it's just a comfort level. So there you go. Shake a hand.
nice. That all went down from talking about social media. So let's jump back to social media.
Sure.
So what have you found that works really well? But let me back that up. With your YouTube stuff, you're coming up with really simple tricks.
Yeah.
And like we were saying, I'm like, David Blaine came out and he bit a coin that you're supposed to use that coin to get in the bottle, not to bite it, But hey, he made a TV show out of it,
Yes,
and he made some money, and I don't know where he is now, but
right.
he did something really well with something very simple. I equate that to your Vanishing Cigarette, How to Quit Smoking video.
Exactly.
Where you had the idea, you went out and you did it,
That's right.
and you had millions of views.
Of course.
And so obviously that turns into ad revenue for you,
Yes.
and then that turns into name recognition, face recognition, branding, and they come to your shows, and it equals money at your shows too. So where do you start with that? Because I know I've seen some of your social media posts, like goals for 2016, like viral
right.
videos. Where do you start, and then what steps do you take to make that happen that are the successful, the keys to success in that?
Well, I think the beginning is to make a YouTube channel, make a Facebook like page, make a Facebook anything if you don't have it. You know what I mean? It's not that hard. My mother, who's in her 70s, has a Facebook page, mainly so she can see my posts, because then I don't have to email her every picture and everything I
Right.
do. And she has a few friends on there, and it's a great thing, and she enjoys it in the morning and likes things and all that. So you can make one. It's not that hard. If
Yeah.
you don't know how to make it, ask a grandson, ask a brother, ask a sister, ask your daughter or son, or whoever you need to. It's not that hard. Pretty self-explanatory. And then get on there and experience it. It's really not that hard. You're not going to make any mistakes. You know what I mean? If you do, you just restart the computer and back up again. It's not going to
Right.
be. And put videos out there. Do a little video. Vanish a sponge ball. If you're new in magic, if you think you do it in the mirror well enough, the trick, whether it be Professor's Nightmare or the French drop vanishing a coin or the jumping elastic bands where it jumps from these 2 fingers to these 2 fingers, if you think you do it well, get on your laptop, or now your phone has it, or it's pretty hard not to find a device that doesn't videotape something.
Yeah.
You can use your phone, you can use your laptop, you don't have to have a ton of money. You can borrow a friend's phone if you don't have the money to have one, or whatever the case is. And just all you gotta do is videotape the 40 seconds of it or whatever, and then there's a link on Facebook and YouTube to upload. You upload it. You might get 11 views, 10, 5, you might get 1 million. That's how you start, but the key is being consistent. So if that's what you wanna do, here's the thing, it's another avenue for you to get yourself out there. There's always a tag or a description. A tag means when I search for you, if I'm searching for David Da Vinci, you want to put David separate, David Da Vinci separate, comedy, magic, illusions, birds. You want to drop if your partner's in there, your wife, or your assistant, or whomever might you want to put in there. And they're just keywords. So when I search on Google, glass jars, pickles, all the glass jars and pickles come up, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So that's what a tag is for people that don't know what that is. And then below that, or above that, wherever your field is, there's a subject line. And usually you want to write a quick bio. Check out how this cool, and once again, we go back to that press release. Make that first sentence exciting. Morphing elastic band through 2 fingers. That sounds exciting. You know what I mean? Or, elastic band impossible, or something that might be exciting. Even though we know the real is jumping elastic bands, that doesn't get me too excited. So
right.
make it, and actually it's very funny. You can really go way off on this and get a lot of views, but it might not make the viewers happy. If you want to have some fun, go on YouTube and type in Jennifer Aniston sex tape. Do that. It's probably one of the most watched videos. It doesn't have her in it. It has nothing to do with her. But they call it clickbait.
Yeah.
Clickbait is basically something you click on because it's an interest. It's an interest. How to make $1 million bucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How to sell your house for 5 times more than it's worth. Any of those things are clickbait because they're human interests.
He gave her a puppy.
That's right. Exactly. Right. So exactly. So that's what that is. And there's clickbait, but then there's honest stuff. Most of my stuff is pretty straight up with a shocking thing. The odd thing is a clickbait thing. Where you just got to click because you're curious about it. So you can do all this stuff. You can make a YouTube channel for free. You can make a Facebook like page or Facebook for free. You got to make your Facebook main page first, which is you. Or if you don't want it to be you and you're really protective, you can make it your dog or your bird or your cat, your turtle. Make up a name and put a picture of a palm tree. You don't have to be, you can be very private. But you got to have that main Facebook page.
Yeah.
And then you make your like off that because you have to have your main, which is, and you got to put your information in there, your phone number and all that other stuff. Once you do that, you can make a like page. And I would always advise about jumping to the like page, the sooner the better. Because like pages can be verified. You can have more than 5,000 friends, even though 5,000 may sound a lot to you. But if you really get popular and videos start really going well for you, that's nothing,
Yeah.
And then you're trapped if you've worked on this one area. And then I was like when I did America's Got Talent, I had like 2,000. As soon as I was at it, just jammed up I got all these people that I didn't know. And so I know about 10 people on my Facebook. But the point is I finally made a like page and now we're rolling. But there's a lot more potential with that. You can get a verified, which is this little check mark with a blue circle, which means you're verified, meaning you're really the person, you're really that person.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, and then also by having that means you can now live stream as verified. You can do all sorts of things, and you make money off it, maybe down the road. There's a lot of talk about that, and that Facebook might be going into that world as well. So it's one of those things where you can do this for free. You can do this tonight sitting at home. It's not that hard. And you do that tonight, it's the beginning of something now that in 2 years, it could be actually a second income because of advertising. It goes back to advertising. And now, for me with the videos, the YouTube and the Facebook, it's 3 or 4-fold for me. First of all, I got a show in Las Vegas at Planet Hollywood. Shameless plug. But I want the exposure. First and foremost, I've always wanted the exposure. That's why I've done all the TV shows and all this stuff. So right at the get-go, like the cigarette vanish video, which, as we know, in magic is one of the oldest tricks, vanishing silk, vanishing dollar bill, vanishing cigarette, whatever you want to do. We just use that because stop smoking is a big epidemic. Vaping's the new thing now, and smoking's still out there, and kids smoking, so we used a younger girl in one of them, so it got a bit more hype. It's just a vanishing cigarette, but I walked up with random people, and I didn't reinvent the wheel. It's been on forever, and it wasn't even done that great. It was just done,
Yeah.
But I forget, we did 3 or 4 million hits on it, the views. I don't know where it's at now, but 3 or 4 million, or it could be even more, because it's just such a strong video, because it has a topic that we're so opposed to or for, So I get the exposure off that, and I got a show here. So that's one-fold. So I have exposure because that's what I do for a living. So that alone is enough. Then, because I got so many views, YouTube puts ads on that. So therefore I make 4 to 6 cents an ad every time somebody clicks on it and watches it. So now there's that income. Then down the road I can put product placement into that. When people come to me and go, hey, can you wear this t-shirt that says this? Or can you use this product instead of this product? You want to put a card in a beer bottle, can you put a card in a Snapple? Okay, sure, because there's always endorsements. We see that in movies all the time. Somebody
don't realize it either.
Huh? No, we don't even realize it. No, we'll sit down, like this is, say, you and me talking, Jude Law and Brad Pitt, wouldn't that be nice? And so we sit down and have a Coke, and there's Pepsi just blurred out just enough, and we're talking, but it's a shot coming up to your face. Well, they put that there for a reason. It wasn't a mistake.
Yeah.
I realize that, you realize that, but a lot of people don't. You can see it. Sometimes it's done. Well, the one with Tom Hanks on an island with a volleyball. that whole thing was sponsored by FedEx. It was all about it was a 1.5 hour or 2 hour commercial for FedEx. It was brilliant. And they probably basically paid for the whole movie, pretty much, you know. So you see these things, and people don't see it. So that's where that avenue as well. So you have the getting popular road, you have the advertising road on there, and you have another road to also do product placement with that. And then the fourth road is, this is a link. You can click and share with someone that might want to book you for a live show. And then if you have a lot of views, that is a bonus. I mean, here's something really interesting. You know, I do my show here. I have a 300-seat theater here, barely 300. And my first video we released 5 months ago was me drinking in public. It was a champagne bottle I made appear. And we just hit 47 million views on that.
Jeez.
And 47, do you know how many shows I would have to do in that 300-seat theater? Have 47 million people watch me? I can't live long enough. It won't happen. And literally, we did that in the comfort of 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I can sit here and upload a video every day and get, 500,000 to 47 million views. It makes you wonder why I do a live show anymore. You know what I mean? It really does. It's a whole other. Now I do a live show because I want the applause, and it's a drug. Like you love it, and meeting people, and we go back to that handshake. I want the handshake.
Yeah.
I want to meet people. I love interaction. I love people.
Yeah.
So that's why I do it. It's a drug. But it does make you wonder on the grand scheme of things. Is it worth doing 10 shows a week when you can do one show really kind of well, upload it, 47 million people see all over the world, so maybe do only 3 shows a month live. There's a whole different world in that, and you're still making the same amount of money, and you're getting a lot more viewership. And here's what's interesting. We all pitch TV, right? I want to get on a TV show. I saw a magician actor get another pilot, and it's on Comedy Central, and he was sharing it on Facebook. I'm not going to mention the name. A friend of mine, good guy. Excited. Now, normally when I see those things, I go, damn it, another pilot he's got? How does that happen? Then, now in my position, I go, oh man, that's a lot of work. Because he's got to come up with the idea, then he's got to pitch it, then they got to think about it, then they greenlight it, that's 3 months. Then they greenlight it and they shoot it in 3 more months, that's 6 months. They shoot the pilot, edit it, that's 2 more months. So now we're at 8 months. And then they got to figure out a time slot, which might be 4 months down the road. So now 11 months to air this pilot. Now hopefully it airs at 9, 7, or 8 o'clock, or they put it on at midnight and they tank it. And they basically burn it because they don't want it to be a hit, because they have the power. So you've done all this work, and you've literally had 250,000 people see it.
Yeah. Or now you can do it yourself with a video camera in your
no
backyard.
executives, no money, nobody, and I can sit at home, you and I can come up with a really cool idea. I can upload it to my channel, hit send, and I can get 10 million people, more than most sitcoms get per view.
You think about back when Copperfield started with CBS and ABC. I think he started with ABC, right?
Yeah, ABC, that's right.
And how much work went into that?
And those were ads. Those are ads, right?
No, I actually honestly haven't seen enough of them. I saw towards the tail end. I didn't
Not
see
to cut you off, but he was doing the 1 hour special, but all of his assistants and people he used on that 1 hour special were the up and coming stars of that season.
That's right.
On ABC.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So we're back to advertising, and everything revolves around advertising and sex, but advertising mainly.
It's Snapchat.
Sorry, kids.
And goats.
Exactly, Snapchat. Exactly.
Yeah. So I forget what I was saying about that, but.
But yeah, about ABC, and he was on ABC doing a TV special, and he started out.
In how many views? I mean, maybe
exactly.
1 to 2 million views after a year's worth of work,
Yeah.
and then you're talking about getting that in 3 months. So it's really interesting to see, because I think you and I probably both grew up thinking, okay, I want to follow these steps and then have my own TV show, and then I can tour, and then because that was the blueprint that we understood. And now it's totally no, I just want to do it so I can have my own YouTube channel and make money off ads.
That's right.
And you can be really good.
Now the problem is with that, which I thought something came up recently, by these kids doing magic on YouTube. Yeah, somebody brought this up, and I can't remember what it was on Facebook. Somebody had a rant or something, that the kids now doing magic on YouTube that are getting so many views have no clue how to walk on stage and do a show. And the sad thing is, it's easy to perform for that tablet.
Yeah.
Because you don't need personality. You don't need to have a shower. We can't smell you.
You don't even have to talk because 85%, like you're saying.
Right. You don't have to talk. So where's the charisma? Where's the next star coming from? Because when I think of stars, I think of Bruno Mars. I think of Taylor Swift. Personalities. Katy Perry. We want to go back further for the older generation. Wayne Newton. All these people. Barry Manilow. When they hit the stage, that first 15 seconds, I don't care who it is who I mentioned, when they hit that stage, that first 15 seconds, Prince even, they sell. They're
Yeah.
a star. That first 15 seconds, the song's kicking, the lights are right, they hit the stage looking amazing.
Yeah.
But that's a gift. It's not natural. Like, it becomes natural when you're in those positions, like you and I walking on stage. But these kids now who are learning magic and doing it just for this, they've never walked on a stage yet. So you're great there. But wait till you gotta hide this bottle behind your back and something up your sleeve here and a line over your shoulder.
And you have angles.
Exactly, and lighting. And now you got 300 to 2,000 people watching you.
Live.
Now, all of a sudden, the nerves kick in. Now, can you still do it?
Yeah.
And it's a different performer they're creating now. And unfortunately, they're starting to become the Uri Geller of our generation. I say Uri Geller because he was so famous doing that one spoon bending thing on TV, nationally, internationally. And I know he's a good performer live, but my point is he's more famous because of that TV and that myth that he has, or not a myth, if you believe in it, of that he can bend spoon with his mind and everything. That was a beautiful thing.
Well, it
Same
just
with
goes to
David
show you
Blaine.
too, like that's going to be a huge void.
Yes.
Then the right person's going to just
That's right.
explode in that
Exactly.
in that vacuum, so to speak.
So it's very important that if you're doing that, do it online, but also walk on the stage because it's two different worlds.
Now with the millennials' attention span, I mean, Instagram videos are 15 seconds. I don't know what the average. You might know the average.
Facebook is 50 seconds.
50 seconds.
A minute and a half.
So how long are you making most of your videos?
The shorter the better. Get to the meat of it. It's funny that we all bitched about America's Got Talent, even American Idol, because American Idol kind of shortened songs too. But America's Got Talent, giving you 90 seconds. They've expanded it now lately, but when I was on, it was 90 seconds.
Yeah.
What? We can't do anything in 90 seconds. Our personality. No, they want to get to the meat of it. If you can do a triple backflip and land on your feet, let's get on with it. I don't need you flitting around doing cartwheels. Let's go.
Yeah.
If you want to produce an elephant, let's get on with it. We don't need 2 minutes to set the scene. And yeah, as a star, as a personality, we need that because that's what builds a character. But they really had something there because they knew the audience didn't have a long attention span. That's why it became a hit show. And they catered to it, which indirectly, I don't know if it helped us or hurt us. But now with stuff on Facebook and all, we don't have a long attention span. I mean, we always think, you have a daughter. We always think, oh, kids, it's a kid thing. Adults have long attention. No, we don't have a long attention span anymore.
She's got a longer attention span than I do.
You're right. See, sure, yeah, right. So it's interesting, isn't it? So it becomes a thing where we want to get to the meat of it.
Yeah.
If we're watching something emotional or watching a volcano erupt, we're like, come on, erupt. Let's just watch I don't want to need the build up and a little puff of smoke. I want to see this thing go.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have patience anymore. So yeah, with Facebook now, you really got to get to the meat of it. And I think that's with anything, you got to have patience. But now everything's done quicker. EPKs, emails, getting gigs. Everyone wants it to happen tomorrow, and you still got to have a certain time to finesse it. So.
Perfect. Well, I know we got to start wrapping up. This has been a great presentation. I think a lot of guys are going to get some killer information out of this. My goal is that they get at least one thing that they can walk away from and walk away with and be able to expand their career. It might be doubling their income by doing just a AdWord. It might be through YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever they're doing. So my last question for everybody is always this. What's one action that people can take this week or right now that'll get them closer to where they want to be?
The one thing they can do this week is look in the mirror and be honest with themselves. Look in the mirror. If you're fat, you're fat. If you're thin, you're thin. If you're bald, you're bald. If you got a big nose, you got a big nose. And accept it. Look in the mirror and go, that's me. And no one's like me. And then start building your character. Because I do a test. I learned this from an acting class. We all stood in front of, first day of class, didn't know anybody. First day, bam, we got in there. First 10 minutes. All right, everybody, here's the deal. Don't talk to anybody. Everyone's going to walk up there and you're going to stand there. And all of us are going to write down what we think you are. Rich, poor, doctor, lawyer, live in a mobile home, live in a mansion. Right now, this is what we're going to do. Bam. Didn't even talk to anybody. So we didn't know anybody. We all stood there. Now, if I was dressed in my Armani suit, you'd think, and my other glasses and all that, you'd think of one thing. If I stand there now, you'd maybe go college or bum or whatever it is, skateboard. I don't know what you'd think. But
Gardener.
I know exactly. So everyone has their thing. So you should do that. You want to have a fun thing. It's very humbling, and you can't be taken it personal. Do it with a group of friends that you don't know, or in your magic club. Do it.
That's a good idea.
And be honest. Be honest. And this is the first step. And you may not want to hear what you're hearing, but this is what we think when you walk on stage. We do. We all sit there. I'll watch a show and go, oh, those pants are short. Oh, that shirt, they could have done it with an extra large on that. Or whatever the case is, or they could have got that suit tailored. You know what I mean?
It's powerful.
And it's a fact. And be honest. And the sooner you're honest with yourself, the sooner you'll be successful. There it is.
Awesome. Murray, I appreciate it as always.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully we have more seminars like this with you.
I know. I love it. Thank you for having me on. You're doing something really great. So
It's my
thank you
pleasure.
again.
Thank you.
call somebody in Iowa right now. We direct dial somebody, anybody, somebody that we don't know. And we go, hey, don't hang up on me. Random question. I'm not trying to sell anything. Think of a magician. I want you to think of 3 things that a magician does. This is all we're asking you. Just answer those 3 things. Be really intriguing to find out what they say.
Let's try it.
I think that we should. Shouldn't we?
You have your phone?
We should. I know. We should pull out my phone. Seriously, we should actually do that.
Okay, random number, hit dial, hit speakerphone.
The subscriber you have dialed is not in.
They lost my number, like that was my business
The
number.
subscriber you have dialed is not in service.
That's weird.
If you feel you've received this. The subscriber you have dialed is not in service.
I have no idea what I'm dialing, or if it's even a real number of anything. Let's see. 524-818-524.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
What's our
This
record?
is really hard.
Finding a random number is very difficult. 818. Oh no, hold on. I'm gonna try clear that. Let's do Canada. Dial the 604 number. We're calling Canada.
The subscriber you have dialed is not in service.
Is your phone working?
Maybe it's me. 3 bars. It's ringing. Not connecting. That's ringing. That's my house. I'm just gonna say hello. See if they're home. My family's out.
Reached the voicemail box of 3.
I wonder if anybody's going to pick up.
I'm gonna try another one just because.
Okay.
I didn't know that you could dial so many random numbers and that they aren't all.
The subscriber you have dialed is not in service.
Seriously. I'm really batting 1,000 for.
Hi, you've reached Emily. Sorry, you. Please leave me a message. I'll be.
We should call a business. Someone will answer to business.
But they're closed now. It's 8 o'clock at night. Let's try that number. Random. Can't be more random than random. Here we go. Should we tell everybody what the number is? No. Let's see.
Northway Walmart, how may I direct your call?
Oh, hi. Can I ask you a question just before you direct my call?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. I'm not. I don't have like a direct question. I just have. I'm doing a survey, and it's not like I'm selling something. I'm just asking random people to name 3 things that a magician does. Would you mind answering that?
Sir, unfortunately, I'm at work right now. This is Walmart.
Yeah. I was just wondering if there was 3 things a magician does. Apparently, they won't answer. Oh no, she did. They disappear. I think your idea sucks. Sir, I'm at Walmart because they're at work. That's funny. Oh.
Please leave your message for 81856.
Hello?
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 The Google subscriber you have called is not available.
And I have the perfect way to do it.
Hello?
Hi there, this is David from 97 KISS FM. We're having the question of the day, and we're wondering if you want to participate. Question's simple.
What?
It's the question of the day. When you think magician, what are 3 things that a magician does?
Pull a rabbit out of his hat,
Pull a rabbit out of the hat, that's number 1.
cut somebody in half,
Cut somebody in half's number 2.
disappear.
Oh, disappear. Oh, thank you very much for playing. Got 2 out of 3. Thanks for playing. Listen to KISS FM. Bye-bye. That was a good radio announcer's voice, huh?
This is David.
It's like.